Hello and welcome back to the second part of our month-long Star Wars marathon. Sam, who've we got with us today?
Today, Chris, we've got another Matt from An Earful Podcast. This week we've got Matty Ashton, and we're going to be covering the original trilogy.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a great one, diving into the original 3 films. Don't forget to check out An Earful Podcast, but Matty will give you the links for them at the end of the show. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Enjoy the show.
You have my curiosity.
Are you telling me you built a time machine?
The Force may be with you.
Welcome to Get Real, the podcast where we get real about all our favourite pop culture films and TV show. And today is the second part of our 3-part Star Wars series. Each one has got a co-host. But first of all, my usual co-host is Sam.
Revenge of the 7th is the day that we're recording this. Is that a thing?
No, I think you could
Sounds
past
like a
it.
good thing, though.
Yeah.
Just
And
in case
then
you missed May the 4th.
Yeah, true. Well, it's Revenge of the 5th, and then it's, I don't know, Revenge and 7 have got the same amount of letters. I don't know, anyway.
7 letters in revenge, so if you times that by 6, you get some sort of Star Wars reference, I don't know.
And you also get our additional host today, which is Matty Ashton. Welcome to the podcast, Matty.
Hello, guys. Good to be on.
So we got Matty on as our second guest from An Earful Podcast, this time covering the original trilogy of Star Wars films.
The
Some
OG.
would say the OGs. Some would say the best. Most people would probably say the best, hopefully.
Yeah.
Do you want to promote the podcast real quick up top?
Just a little bit of a shout out to the other 2 Matts, the 3 Matts, the 3 Musketeers on An Earful Podcast. We're a horror/music podcast. So if you're into any of that stuff, especially like good music as well, if you listen to like shit chat music, then fuck off. We don't want you.
Getting called out by Matt already. Right, well, you got big shoes to fill anyway, because Matt Pearson last week did kind of rock this, and we did say at the end of this, we're going to rank the 3 Matts the same way we're going to rank the 3 trilogies, so
Yeah.
be on your toes, because you are under review.
How do you reckon you're going to fare up? How do you reckon you're going to do versus Pearson and Lunn?
I don't know. Well, there's a lot to talk about in those first 3 films because, like I was saying, Jar Jar Binks is a fucking a good hour, probably. All those theories, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Evil Jar Jar
Lord?
Binks. Yeah, is he a Sith Lord?
If you haven't checked out the first episode, we did cover it. Find out our definitive answer.
Yes.
But anyway, we're going to jump straight into it with A New Hope. Who wants to take it away on A New Hope?
I've got a real quick question at the start of A New Hope, right? So this, when it opens up, you've got the rebel troopers in the hallway waiting for the stormtroopers to breach, don't you?
Yeah.
Has anyone noticed this is the only scene in the entire Star Wars saga, I'd go as far to say, where stormtroopers actually hit?
Well,
Because
that's in my notes for later on, because Obi-Wan says, oh, with accuracy like this, it could only be Imperial stormtroopers. It's like, they have notoriously the worst aim.
apart from in this corridor when they breached this ship, because when I watched this, it was the first thing that I noticed, that there was 2 dead stormtroopers and about 10 dead rebel troopers, and I was like, you see them and they're like hitting him and taking him out, and then maybe they just get gun shy when Vader appears. I don't know. But they really drop the ball after that, don't they?
Well, it's like you said in battles, the shit. Like you just see like all the fucking Jedi or whatever just running away from them. Probably a good few feet as well, where they could have had bullets in the back of them. Well, not bullets, but lasers, and they missed every single shot. It's like, or is it Palpatine controlling everything? Because why would he want Anakin to die in those sort of situations? So unless he's controlling it in the Force,
Part of his big master plan that he's orchestrated.
yeah.
They just get performance issues when there's a hero on screen. Do you reckon they knew they were like, they're trying to make 2 more films after this one, we can't hit them?
Right.
It was just so bizarre. Like, it's one of those things that when you've watched so much stuff of just things, just like, oh, they never hit anything, and people always survive, and then they're just like scary. This is like the first time that you see like stormtroopers actually look intimidating, and then after that, they're just hitting the heads on doors and all sorts of stuff.
Literally the next scene, yeah.
No, that opening scene on Force Awakens, like, or the one where Ren's like just absolutely laying into everyone with all the stormtroopers, like that's when you looked at them like as if to say like, fuck me. and then they released all
Yeah,
the
they
other
had
new
an
troopers
upgrade
that
in the
came with
First
it.
Order.
Yeah,
They actually had time to train them.
mad.
My theory might be they're probably like riding high, because this obviously breaches in from the end of Rogue One now. So if you think about it in context, they're probably just seeing like these guys escape from their ship, and they're just seeing Darth Vader go on an absolute tear. It's like, oh shit, we can actually do this, guys. So they're like, got good aim, and then after that, they're just kind of like, eh.
They had the right pep talk, didn't they? They had the right pep talk in the gym before in the locker room before they went out.
Darth Vader was like, bring it in, guys, bring it in, take a knee. Right, this is the gameplay for today. And he went through the playbook and everything. Apparently, it is actually in canon why they're such a bad shot is because the Imperial weapons are just mass-produced and they're really bad, so apparently they've just got shocking aim.
All the helmets are mass-produced and they can't see anything out of them.
Right, but
you don't have much visibility.
You're saying that, but what about the clone troopers?
Yeah, they're a sick shot. If you watch
That's what I mean.
So
they're a good shot, aren't they? And they're mass produced, so there must be some sort of error in there. They've got Jar Jar Binks' DNA in the blood.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's what it is. Not all stormtroopers are clones, though, are they? Like the clones were specifically engineered to be crack shots.
There was actually a point in Star Wars lore where Palpatine got rid of all the clones in the Empire, and there was actually I saw it somewhere on Twitter, but it was a particular battle where Palpatine said, like, no more clones, and then he kind of got rid of them and then recruited instead.
I was going to say, because you never know where that ends, because obviously at the end of Episode 3, they're still there, and then Episode 4 comes and it's Stormtroopers. Like, I never actually thought about that.
That'll be worth looking into afterwards, I reckon.
This is a lot of talk about just the fact that stormtroopers can aim for one scene.
I mean, the biggest thing is that we've just watched episode 1, 2, and 3, and then you've gone to this because we're actually watching it in chronological order, not release order.
Chronological.
How did you find that, Matty? Going from 1, 2, 3, and then seeing and then having to talk about this.
Well, like I said, obviously I watched all the like Rise of Skywalker and all that, the latest trilogy, like very recently. So that's still at the top of my mind. I never got up to episode 4, 5, and 6, believe it or not, guys. Sorry.
Slacking.
So
you're going down the leaderboard.
But as we said, they are literally ingrained in your mind anyway. Like they're just stuck in there constantly. You know what I mean? Like you're always comparing everything to them. So I thought, you know what? Let's watch number 1, 2, 3. And instead of going to 4 and 5, just get into Han Solo and then just get into Rogue One as well. Just go that way. I go the full way.
I think, like you said, these are ingrained in our memories, but I think every time I seem to watch, I watch them every year, but every now and again, every couple of years, I'll take something new away from them, and I felt like I noticed a lot of stuff this time, obviously being nearly 25 at this point, we're a bit older, we're getting something different from the franchise again, and my first note on the list is just C-3PO is the sassiest motherfucker, and I've never noticed, there's one point in each 3 films where I've written a note just said, C-3PO treats R2-D2 like a piece of fucking shit, and throughout my notes I'm just getting angrier at C-3PO, to the point where my last note is C-3PO is a piece of shit.
He's also just absolutely blind, because when he finds R2, right at the beginning, and he's taking that message from Leia, it's like he's looking directly at her, and it's just a clear corridor, and then it's like, where have you been? And it's like he's been looking down the corridor like this, and it's like...
Do you know, you could probably turn C-3PO into a horror movie.
Like
with
Five
those
Nights at
eyes.
Freddy's or something.
Yeah,
Deep stuff.
Some woman just traps herself in a wardrobe trying to escape him, and then all you see in the back of the wardrobe in the darkness is C-3PO's eyes just pop out of nowhere. That's the trailer.
The red like they are in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Sith droid.
Sith droid. You know what? That's a new thing, that, isn't it? Actually.
When are we going to get a horror film in the Star Wars universe?
I know we need
There's
it.
been horror novels in Star Wars, like zombie stormtroopers and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
There's some pretty dark episodes of Clone Wars as well. I've just finished season 3, and there's an episode with Ahsoka Tano being hunted by the race that Bosk is. And it's basically it's just basically battle royale / the hunt / Hunger Games type thing. And I was like, that's dark for a kid show.
Yeah, well, there are some horror-y bits. It always gets for example, the cave. I know I'm jumping way ahead of the gun now, but the cave bit like kind of at the time. What we've got to remember is these films are very different at the time. Like, what did I watch last night? I watched Sleepless in Seattle with Tom Hanks in.
Yeah, okay, good film.
And that was actually 2 years before The Phantom Menace. And you see how filmmaking and stuff is in a film like that in 97. And you got to think about how it was when A New Hope came out. It was like even before that. And it's like you kind of take it for granted sometimes, I think, like how good those films were for the time. Yeah. Because honestly, they hold up now. And there was a lot of parts of that film that I watched last night that came out 2 years before, Phantom Menace, that is a good film, but questionably doesn't hold up now as much. So,
but the two characters that stay the same, though, are C-3PO and R2-D2. They never change.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Where you see Yoda going from an animatronic to like digital, like obviously you see that change, and you know what I mean, because it gets better as it goes along. Because like what Yoda in like Episode 1. Compared to like you see Yoda in any of the other ones.
It's very cool how they stay quite true. And it's also good that obviously from when A New Hope came out that they didn't have to change anything to make them still look good in stuff like The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker and stuff, innit?
While we're still on this first scene anyway, I miss Carrie Fisher. Like, seeing her in this again, every time I see her in something, like, my heart breaks a little bit. Especially because this was her first appearance as Princess Leia as well.
I went watching Rogue One. I was just in the cinema, watching all that. I got all the way till the end, and then you see Carrie Fisher, just, like, face at the end of it. Like, you don't expect it, because, like, obviously you see her from behind and you think they're not going to, like, put a face on. You'll just see that and you'll know who it is. But then she turns around and she got that, like, CGI face and all that, because they made her look younger. I thought, fucking hell, man, that was great. And then I came out the cinema, and on the radio it said Carrie Fisher passed away. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, I came out straight after that last scene of seeing that, and I was like,
I remember, like, the day that we found out that she had passed away, like, I just watched 4, 5, and 6 that day.
Yeah.
Again, it's like that first scene with her in the corridor sending the message in R2-D2, you're just like, fuck, man, I miss her. She's so good.
While we're on the topic of this first scene as well, it's the whole Darth Vader reveal, isn't it? So he gets introduced like straight away in this. So cool, by the way.
So
like,
menacing.
Yeah, proper menacing. But to talk about menacing, they got Darth Vader, although he force chokes everyone throughout the whole film, he physically chokes this guy.
Yeah.
And watching it back, when he's got that rebel up like that with his hand and he's like lifting him off the floor and chokes him, it's so weird to see someone physically choke someone in Star Wars after...
Do you not think it makes it more brutal that he's using his own hands for it? Well, his own robot hands for it.
Yeah, but he does he does that little cripple thing like that, like you said, like you're just doing then, he's that little cripple. It's like he doesn't use his full hand, it's just a little cripple. Like it's weird, that, isn't it?
It was one of those things where I was thinking it. I was like, I think that because we've seen more of Darth Vader now, like in Rogue One and stuff like that, and in other stuff where you've seen him just like absolutely going ham, throwing, in Rogue One he's throwing rebels up onto the roof, and then he's like resorted to just good old fashioned like grabbing someone.
Yeah, the next scene, like he's just like, I'm tired of this. I'm doing this with my bare hands now. Choke you out.
Yeah. And I reckon maybe it was one of those things at the time where it might have been too much for audiences to introduce doing stuff through the Force straight away.
Yeah.
It's like let's not go full badass yet. Let's just do that. Let's do that. But
it was this point as well that I noticed, like, so we have the escape pod leaves and then we're on Tatooine for the first time, and I noticed like how good these remasters actually look that are on Disney Plus. So these are unfortunately the ones that have still been tweaked by George Lucas, and they got the awful CGI on Tatooine as well. Like, I'll get to that in a bit, but they've been digitally remastered as well. Like, everything's so sharp and so crisp on these. Like, they actually looked full HD. I was like, oh, this is good. This is good.
They do, like, look amazing. When I got to Empire Strikes Back, I was like, the Hoth introduction looks awesome on Disney Plus. It looks really good.
Do you remember the time before there was an Anakin hologram?
I do remember that, actually. I think I had that on VHS, and I swear that doesn't have Anakin. That doesn't have Hayden Christensen on it. It has the original guy on it. Yeah. And just a quick one while we're on the topic of drop pods. That Imperial officer who says there's no life forms on that drop pod screwed the entire Galactic Empire by not shooting that drop pod down.
Shoot it! No, it's probably just a malfunction.
But it's ace because the other guy says, there's an escape pod, shoot it down. He's like, no, leave it. There's no life forms on there. It's like, mate, if they only knew that it was your fault.
The entire Star Wars saga, the entire Skywalker saga is built around coincidences.
Yeah, literally.
It's just MacGuffin after MacGuffin, just plot hole after plot hole when you think about it. Like, what are the odds that those droids would land on Tatooine and be picked up by the son of the guy that built them?
Yeah.
And it just so happens to be that he's the savior of the entire universe. Oh, what a coincidence. Like, the entire thing is just coincidence after coincidence. Like we said in the first, when Anakin drops into the lift and Obi-Wan nearly cuts him in half, like, he just nearly saved the entire Republic there and then.
That's another meme that needs to happen. Just shoot down that escape pod, and then you just see a laser hit it explodes, and then the credits
no plans. Roll. The Death Star blows up everything.
Yeah.
Done. You just need like a super cut of like the Death Star blowing up like 50 different planets, and then like at the end replace the CGI celebration scenes with just the stormtroopers in every city.
Just the Imperial March all the way through.
So we get the whole introduction of Luke and everything just being a whining ass teenager. It's like, Dad, but Uncle Owen, I don't want to work on a moisture farmer all my life. God, like just being absolutely whining. Watching it back now, I'm like, how do we like Luke straight off the bat? It's like, it's not until like they get onto the Death Star that you're like, he's actually like a decent character. Yeah, there's a princess, there's a sexy princess in danger, so now he's like, okay, now it's time to do some hero shit.
Ben puts that lightsaber in his hand, and then he's like, yes, that's it, I'm ready to go.
He just turns into Thor. He's like, because that's what heroes do.
There's the Mos Eisley foreshadowing in there in episode 2, where you see like Luke's step like parents in that.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So like,
you see Joel Edgerton playing Lars.
Yeah. So all of that was like a cool foreshadowing. Obviously, like prepping it up for the 4th one, right? And it's just mad in it when you think about it that like fucking Vader's been sat right next to him in there at one point.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that where it's like you realise how many people actually knew Anakin but didn't realise he was Vader.
Yeah.
And it's like, what did you tell them? What did you tell those people who like knew Anakin as this guy who came over and his mum was dead because she got stolen by Tusken Raiders? Oh, remember that guy? Well, Obi-Wan, the guy who brought the baby, chopped his legs off and his arm off and then left him to burn in lava because he turned bad.
Most people don't know that, do they? Most people don't know that, and I think that's why it doesn't need explaining.
No, but the thing is, his step-parents would have known that. They would have known that Anakin like turned into Darth Vader. They would have found out somehow.
Well, I suppose that's why Obi-Wan's brought the twins, hasn't he, at the end of episode 3?
Yeah.
He's probably had to explain, look, I've had to go through this story a few times, but Anakin's turned to the dark side. I've had to kill him, and these are his kids.
Well, if you actually watch it, he doesn't say jack shit. He gets off his like Tatooine camel, passes the baby to Aunt Peru, and then that's fucking it. They stare into the sunset and he fucks off.
Yeah, no, you actually make a good point, actually, because we don't actually find out like who Darth Vader is, do we?
No. But to be honest, I don't even...
Well, they don't get to find out.
The thing is there must be some point in between episode 3 and A New Hope where Obi-Wan finds out Anakin's still alive and he's Darth Vader. Because at the point that he leaves him for dead, doesn't he, at the end of Revenge of the Sith?
That's what I mean, so all he knows is he's dead. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do they know that like Darth Vader exists or who he is? And they might know he exists, but they might not know who he is.
Yeah, I reckon he could just sort of sense it through the Force, is how they'll probably wave their hands and explain it type thing.
Yeah.
Well, to jump the gun a little bit across in New Hope, that when Darth Vader senses Obi-Wan when he's on the first Death Star, he says, it's a presence that I've not felt since, and then ... And I reckon maybe that they have met and he has found out that Anakin is Darth Vader. I reckon...
Doesn't he know his name from episode 3 when he gets anointed Darth Vader? Does he not know his new name in that?
No, Yoda knows his name. Yoda said his name.
Oh no, Palpatine says it, doesn't he, as he rises? Well, it was recently that Hayden Christensen. There's a strong rumor right now that he's going to reprise the role of Anakin Skywalker, or he's going to reprise his role as Darth Vader in the Obi-Wan TV series. Apparently, which will be very interesting. Hot scoop, yeah. So that's
has that started filming?
It started with script writing.
We need that right now.
It got delayed indefinitely.
Yeah. Which I reckon may be a good thing, because hopefully they didn't plan on bringing Hayden Christensen in, and now they're going to do it because of, delays and stuff. Maybe it's meant that they've come up with that idea, but this might not be true anyway. It might not happen, but it's meant to be revealed at Star Wars Celebration, which is meant to be any time over the next few months. So
if it's not been cancelled due to coronavirus. Anyway.
That was a tangent and a half.
So we're still talking about Luke, and I think we get the greatest scene of A New Hope with Luke when he stares at the binary sunset. You get the music swell.
Yeah.
And oh man, that is just that scene, that music, the way he just looks off into the distance, and you hear the music and it just fills everyone's minds with hope and wonder. This kid wants to get off this planet. He wants to see what's beyond those two suns. He wants to explore the universe and everything. And then he looks away it's never going to happen. You see the remorse in him, but he senses something almost, and he looks hopefully back out at the horizon as the music swells again. This scene.
You love that opening.
There's a reason this scene gets replicated in all the Star Wars films. We have Rey foreshadow it when she's on Jakku, and then obviously at the end of the Skywalker saga, she's walking off into the dual sunsets. You have Episode 3 finish with it as well, with them holding Luke staring at the binary sunset in the exact same spot.
Luke dies to that as well.
Exactly, with another binary sunset. It's so...
Man.
Woof!
It's good.
That's a scene that...
It always catches me off guard how much different Mark Hamill looks in A New Hope to how much different he looks in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, he had that bad car crash, didn't he, and needed facial reconstruction.
Yeah. So that's why he looks so different between the films. He's a totally different person in A New Hope. It's really weird, yeah.
There was also the biggest time difference between the filming of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back rather than Empire into Return of the Jedi as well. So he did age up a little bit, and obviously the car crash and everything like that. My next notes just start to go on to the whole bit getting introduced with Obi-Wan and stuff like that, and you see the Jawa's sandcrawler. This is what we talked about earlier. The Jawa's sandcrawler's all blown up, and he's just there oh, only Imperial stormtroopers are this accurate. It's this goes against everything we've come to learn as Star Wars fans, but at the beginning of this film, it's just Darth Vader and stormtroopers are the biggest threats you could ever face.
Yeah, that and Tusken Raiders, apparently.
Yeah.
But when Obi-Wan appears, when he's waving his arms about and he's doing that whole sound or whatever he's doing.
Was it a crate dragon or something, is it meant to be?
Yeah, so they change that sound actually changes across all the different versions as well. It's as bad as bloody hand shoots first moment. So there's loads
that's in
of
the notes. Get ready for that. Get ready for that conversation.
There's loads of different sounds that Obi-Wan makes when he comes to save Luke, and I think the one that is in there right now is the weirdest of them. Definitely the weirdest.
It's definitely more of a creature noise. A lot of the other ones were just
yeah. There was a really scary one. There was one that was really aggressive, and it was
the pig one. It sounds like a pig.
I don't know whether that's the one that's in there now. I can't remember.
It sounds like a pig squealing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that might be the one that's in there now. Yeah, the one that's in there now is a screaming pig, but there was a really scary dragon noise that was meant to be a crate dragon or whatever. Also, the bit where the Jawas ambush the droids, proper vibes from what The Mandalorian did with episode 2 or 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah. That's what I liked about The Mandalorian as well. It visited all those characters again.
Yeah, I've just checked out Star Wars Gallery, the first episode, talking about the direction of those things. That's really good to check out.
Have you watched Star Wars Gallery, Matty?
I've not
Disney
watched
Gallery
it yet.
even.
We only got this free trial of Disney Plus the other night. I realised
it's only one episode at the moment.
Is it? I've seen them advertised on there, but I need to get into them. I've watched a few of the behind the scenes on YouTube, especially the Phantom Menace ones, because I was curious to see like how that all went about. They're pretty cool though.
Well, if you really like The Mandalorian, a quick 10-second review on Disney Gallery. More Mandalorian, more behind the scenes. It's all awesome.
Again, not sponsored by Disney Plus. We just really love it. It's the best place for Star Wars content.
So does this show you like what would have happened, like the previous things they wrote for the script that didn't get in there, sort of thing?
Yeah, well, not as such. It's more like it's just the behind the scenes in the making of. But they do a round table with all the directors on it, and you just see loads and loads of like professionally shot behind the scenes stuff that just looks wicked. And because of how they did The Mandalorian with the whole like spherical screen and stuff that goes around them, it just looks nuts. It's like they're actually there on all the sets. It looks really ace, but again, digress, but Disney Gallery's wicked.
Yeah,
very good.
So back onto A New Hope, we get the interrogation scene of Leia, and this still has my favourite clanger. Out of everything that's been changed in these original things, this is still here. When the interrogation probe droid thing gets first shown off, you can see the guy's arms holding it around the door. He's just holding it. Like, you see his black clothed arms just holding it around the door. You're like, how is this still here? It's so clunky, it's great. But, like, that's just, like, one of those little charming moments that if you don't notice it, you don't notice it. But it's just like, this is like a nice little... Exactly,
movie
like,
magic.
you can tell it's a product of its age and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which makes me hate the CGI even more, which is my next note, because we go back to bloody Mos Eisley. You've got that bloody big dinosaur stomping around everywhere. So it's not even the ones that the stormtroopers are riding on. There's just like this giant like giraffe dinosaur looking bastard.
Which ones of them stop motion ones?
No, it's not even a stop motion one. It's an awful CGI one that was put back in for the first DVD releases.
Right.
Oh, it's awful. He's just constantly walking through frame. Like, you know, the first time like they pull up on the speeder and Obi-Wan does the Jedi mind trick. Like, you miss half the shot of him pulling up because this fat-ass dinosaur's walking through shot.
I was looking at some behind-the-scenes stuff and things that make the script and that. And apparently, for episode 4, they originally shot Jabba the Hutt as a human. And there's video footage of this out there. And it's just this big fat guy in furry clothes with a Scottish accent. And he's Jabba the Hutt. It's fucking mental. And then, obviously, it then got changed into Jabba as we know him. I find it crazy that was a thing.
Notes as well. Jabba looks fine in it, but because they've had to move Han Solo around the shot, obviously, because they had a human in there, like you said, like, he's just got this, like, proper fuzzy glow around him where they've not cut him out properly and they've just sort of, like, put a soft edge around him. And it's absolutely awful. And then they've CGI'd Boba Fett in there as well. But then as he's leaving, he calls Jabba a human being. Why did you leave that line in there?
Yeah. He says you're a great human being or something like that.
Yeah, you're a great specimen of a human being or something like that.
But it kind of works because he's like being sarcastic almost, you know what I mean? So that's probably why they kept it in. My favourite bit is how Han kind of like levitates behind him and then comes back down.
Yeah, he's walking over his tail.
Yeah, it's just so janky.
I feel like we've spoke about this before. It's not even like when you step over something, you sort of like create an arc, don't you? But he doesn't, like, he's going straight and then it's just like a triangle, just up, down.
Yeah. Speaking about the CGI on in Mos Eisley before we move on, I think parts of it are really good. I think just that big dinosaur thing just needs to go because it's just like absolutely just like in the shot walking past, but because it's like blurry CGI for the time, it just looks so bizarre.
That's the thing, like there's not enough depth to the textures on it really. Like they've tried to add scales and stuff, but there's no shadows or anything on it. Like it's the lighting that always gives away bad CGI and it just looks awful.
I think it just makes the film just look a little bit more aged than what it is. You know what I mean? Also, just because we're going to move away from Tatooine for a bit.
No, I'm staying on it.
Oh, you're staying on it? Cool. I just want to ask before we stop talking about Jawas, have you ever seen what one looks like underneath the hood?
No, but I imagine it's terrifying.
I'm going to show you now. What I'd encourage everyone listening to do is to Google Jawas underneath the hood and look at the absolute horrific things that come up on Google.
Jawas in the hood.
Is this in a comic or something?
Here's a really quick look, guys.
Oh my god. It looks like Beta Ray Bill.
What?
Yeah. There's a couple of different looks of a Jawa. I thought this would be really thrilling content on a podcast. There is some really horrible looks of.
Oh, what the hell? Are these just things people have made up? Like what they think? Yeah.
I think maybe this is like unused concepts and stuff like that. There's some that don't look as weird, but they are two of the by far most freaky deaky looking Jawas I've ever seen. But yeah, apparently they're horrific.
Speaking of freaky deaky creatures, we get the Mos Eisley Cantina, and I think this was the moment as a kid where it was like, I love Star Wars, like all the weird, bizarre, different aliens in here.
Yeah.
Like you get like a moment like each time in each of the original trilogy where you just get introduced like loads of bizarre new things. Like you get the Jabba's Palace in Return of the Jedi and stuff like that. Just the introduction of all these different aliens is so cool. Like you've got Rhodians in there. You've got the werewolf creatures. You've got the guys that are constantly wearing spacesuits. Obviously, the band. Got the pig guy, the guy with like the butt for a mouth and all that.
I think that's the point when like you're watching the movie and you're like, yeah, I'm home. Like this is what Star Wars is.
Do you want to do a real quick bit of trivia and try and name alien races that are in that bar at the time?
Well, her name's Rhodian.
Well, you two will surpass me because I've not a fucking clue.
Are we gonna? No. Okay, we'll leave it.
Go on, Sam. Try and name a couple.
Go on.
Keep going until nobody can name another one. So you said Rhodian. I'll say Biff. Which are the music guys?
I'll say human.
A cat. Human. Okay.
That counts. It counts.
I'm trying to think what the name of Greedos is. I know they're from Rhodon, aren't they?
Greedo is a Rhodian.
No, I thought a Rhodian was the blue head guys that Cad Bane is.
Nope.
No, so he's a Rhodian. What's the one that Cad Bane is then with the blue head?
I can't tell you because that's my next one.
Go on then, you go then. I'm out of
Cad Bane, and that one is called a Duros.
Oh, okay.
Fuck me, boys, you've dove in. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, you could say Wookiee because Chewbacca's in there.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's the name of the ones with the arse for a mouth.
Oh.
They're a bit like Balchinians, aren't they? Off Men in Black.
Balchinians.
That's exactly what they are. Excellent.
Balchinians, man.
We'll play Star Wars trivia another time.
They should make a guest appearance.
I can tell you the name of most of the people in Jabba's palace. We'll get on to that later.
I love how I literally forgot some creatures' names for Star Wars, but I instantly remember the Balchinian from Men in Black. But they should definitely make an appearance in Star Wars somehow. Like, they need to make an appearance.
It's probably like a deep crossover, like E.T. being in the prequels.
Yeah, or like you'll see in the background of the cantina, like they'll newly edit the Balchinian into it. You won't see it unless you pause it and you stare in the background. But the Balchinians
are just dangling.
Yeah, they're just dangling in the background.
I don't even want to know what this race is actually called anymore. We're just going to stick with Balchinian.
No, that's what they're actually known as, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll call them a Balchinian. Have you Googled Balchinian?
No, we'll do that another time.
Right, anybody listening, Google Balchinian and have a good laugh at it because he's hilarious.
While we're in the cantina, the only other thing that we have to talk about in it is, in your perfect version of this scene, who shoots first?
Oh, well, there was different versions of this, wasn't there? So there was a version
so the version on Disney Plus, the newest version. So we've got Greedo now saying McClunky as he fires, and they both fire at the same time now. So the original was Han shot first, and then they re-edited it so Greedo shot first, and Han just sort of like did a weird CGI head dodge out the way. Yeah. And then so now they've got it so that they shoot at the same time. What's everybody's perfect version of that?
Go on, Matty, you go first.
Why not just stick with the plain and simple? Like, they shot each other on time. You know what I mean? They both knew each other, so they both shot at the same time. They knew what was coming. They knew there was no way none of them were getting out of it. So that's the perfect vision for it.
What do you think, Sam?
Happened.
It's tough, innit? Because everyone wants Han to have shot first, right? But I think the rule of cool with this would be if Greedo shot first and Han actually did dodge out the way. Not in the weird CGI dodge, but he like let Greedo take the first shot and then... So he didn't instigate the murder in a cantina, you know what I mean?
Right, okay, so we've all got different answers, because my perfect one is Han shot first, because that was what gave us the fundamental of what his character was. Like, this is where we learnt that Han Solo is a smuggler, he's a killer, he doesn't give a shit, like, he does what needs to be done to save his own ass and get the job done. You know what I mean? Like in that moment, like, we learned everything that we needed to know about the smugglers in this world. And like that built the foundation of the character that we get of Han Solo in that film.
Yeah.
Like he's a smuggler that doesn't care about anything except for the paycheck.
It's a good point, actually. Yeah, you know what? I think all of them. I don't think there's a single thing apart from questionably the McClunky line, which is just a bit odd, that makes this scene bad. Anyway, I think it's always going to be a really good scene.
I always love the way that Greedo talks in his native language as well, because they've got like that weird little tunnel mouth as well. It's like, it's like if you saw that mouth, that's how you imagine those things talking. It's like,
It's odd.
It's like the end of a
sock.
No, a sock. A sock
The
trumpet.
fingers are like trumpets. They've got like suction cups on the ends of the fingers, haven't they?
Yeah, like little elephant trunks.
That's brilliant.
Well, they look like flies, don't they? They look like flies, so it's little fly mouth.
Yeah. Actually, can we talk about Rogue One? I know it's not part
Well,
of
that's a different episode, but we could talk about it quickly, yeah.
Right, so let's just like go on about the characters that appear in there, especially Darth Maul. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Darth Maul's not in Rogue One. What are you chatting about?
not Rogue One. Oh, I'm on about Solo. Yeah, I got it mixed up. So when he appears at the end of Solo, like, did you expect that?
No.
No, I didn't see that coming at all.
Me and Sam freaked out in the cinema. I think that was the only bit in that film where we were both like, "Whoa!"
That's what I mean. So like they stayed like true to maybe the comics might have been before that. Were they before or after it? You know, when like,
it depends what
he
comics you're
survives
talking about. They're all getting.
Oh, not comics. Sorry, the TV series. The
that was
series.
Already out. Yeah, that was already out.
Right, so they actually continued that on then from where Darth Maul like got his spider legs and all that sort of stuff.
Lucasfilm have a story group, mate, that have to make sure all these stories link together and make sure that there's nothing that counteracts another thing. There's like a team of people that have to do this every time they release something Star Wars related.
Make sure nothing contradicts itself in a way.
Yeah.
They've got a team of Jocasta News just held up in a library full of Star Wars tomes so that everything works.
Fuck.
They'll be able
that's
to
the thing. As soon as Disney bought them, we were like, okay, everything that's not the 6 films is bullshit. It doesn't exist anymore. Now we've got a team that's going to tell you what exists, and then all the books and everything have come out.
Do you reckon they'll make like one film where they show that battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul again? I know because the cartoon's been there, but you never know what they're like. They'll just like they'll
they already turned it into a film. It's called The Phantom Menace.
I'm not going to tell you anything, but it already exists.
Yeah, we know they fight
times.
multiple times, but like they're not going to recreate the first fight.
I know, but it's like the final fight after Darth Maul's been through all that stuff. Like he got betrayed by the Emperor and all that.
It exists.
It does exist.
It exists. I will tell you
Watch
what it is.
Watch the animated
afterwards.
shows. These things.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's on the animated series, but I'm saying, do you not think they'd make a movie about it at some point?
Live action Rebels.
I mean, Obi-Wan TV series.
Yeah, maybe they have another fight in there. It won't be the fight.
That's a good point, actually. It might come up in that. Why would it not?
You could have the same fight in there as what we already see.
Have they said when it's taking place, this Obi-Wan series?
Before episode 4.
Yeah, in between.
So is it after Order 66 had already been shot off?
Yeah.
It's on his isolation on Tatooine, yeah.
Her mate Obi-Wan.
Oh, so you've got to see Darth Maul.
It'd be cool. I'd see Ray Park back as Darth Maul, definitely.
Yeah. Well, he's already back. In the Clone Wars, he's doing the mocap. Back on track with A New Hope, because we're already way through this podcast. We get to the Death Star. Let's just talk everything Death Star. So we get there, we save Leia. We get all the great jokes. You're a bit short to be a stormtrooper and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. This is where the fun begins.
Han Solo's got a bad feeling about this. All the quotable lines in here.
Have you seen the What If episode on the Death Star on Facebook?
No.
So they did a What If episode of the Death Star, and they said, what if you could build the Death Star? How big would it need to be? Where would you be able to build it? How much it would cost to build it? And how much would it cost to run it and all this? And it was literally like 400 quadrillion thingies like every single year. Is mental. So you think about that.
Staffing, rotoring the staff.
They said
on
they'd have a million people living on it.
You know what the problem is as well is the fact that your Republic credits are no good here.
Yeah.
So like when you try to equate it to like pounds, it's not going to work, is it?
God, imagine the sizes of the cantinas in there. Jesus Christ.
Well, they've got like multiple different prison levels on it, so like they've definitely got different
crazy.
like canteens. Do you reckon
And the
they've
fact
just got like a giant food court, like the Manchester Arndale food court?
And it was saying how long it'd take to get
fried
built.
chicken and all that.
Yeah, to get their own little like food cart. Yeah, definitely. But like that took like obviously so long to get built. How long does it take in the movies to get built from episode 3?
Well, it's halfway. It's halfway built
done,
between 4 and 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
The plans are handed over between episode 2 and episode 3.
Yeah.
So when you see Darth Vader and Palpatine in episode 3, that the Death Star's pretty much nearly there, really, isn't it? So you don't know that.
It's about at the same stage that it is in episode 6. It's like
it's about
there,
a quarter.
all the framing done.
Yeah, all the framing and all done and that. But imagine how long it takes doing the materials. Bloody hell.
Yeah, and it's still being built in Rogue One. So we get a demonstration of the Death Star as well, don't we? Which is quite cool. There's a little Easter egg here while I nerd out again for a minute. What Matty will notice on this episode of the podcast is what Matt noticed when we were on it last week, is that me and Chris know an incredibly embarrassing amount about Star Wars.
No, I figured that much before when you were naming all the races. I was just like, right, I'll take a step back for a second.
They mention a planet. So what the interaction that they're having is Leia's like not wanting them to blow up a home world because they're saying we're going to blow up Alderaan, which is where she's from, which is where Luke and everyone are trying to get to as well, right?
Yeah.
But the planet that she tells Tarkin that the rebel base is on, she says Dantooine. Little fact for you, if you haven't played the Knights of the Old Republic video game, is Dantooine is where the original Jedi Council from the Old Republic are based.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's a very, very Force thingy place. That
they scan Dantooine as well, and they say there's an old rebel base there, but it's been out of commission for years.
Yeah, so it's where the old Jedi Order used to be. They used to live in like really old buildings, and it was all fields and stuff. So there's an interesting little fact for you. They took that planet and used it for something.
As opposed to what planet is the rebel base now on? It's on Yavin 4. It's a moon, isn't it?
It's a moon off Onderon. It's a moon of Onderon. No, Alderaan gets blown up.
Onderon. Is that a different planet?
Jesus.
Sam's Googling furiously.
Carry on, I'm fact checking this shit.
It's just, I thought you were just saying Alderaan badly.
Is Dantooine near Tatooine?
Well, no. I don't think it's far off. It's
probably in the same system, but it's it's definitely a different tween. Anyway, it's in between the two tweens. Let's put it that way. Okay, so we get the rescue. We get the epic. Well, not so epic, but it was epic at the time, lightsaber battle. The first one that we had ever seen between Darth Vader and old Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
And you learn so much about these characters in this one moment here. And again, it's so cool. And you see Ben look over at Luke. He's like, okay, my job here is done. I'm ready to be a Force ghost now. Yeah. And then he's just there like, hold the lightsaber up, get a bit of a slashing. Turn to dust, and I always forget that he does this until I rewatched it. Darth Vader just like starts kicking the robes to like see if there's anything there.
Yeah,
it's just like Ben.
Has he become a mini person or not? Are you in there?
Well, that's the thing, because like Anakin's never really seen anybody do the whole evaporating trick because Qui-Gon. Well, he wasn't there when Qui-Gon died. He didn't evaporate. Like every Jedi that dies in Clone Wars and everything like that, all those films, they don't evaporate. It's only Obi-Wan and Yoda that we see do it. And then, obviously, Luke does it at the end.
I wonder how long it takes them to learn them, the Force Ghost, like, sort of trick. Because I know, like, Yoda talks about it, because he says to Obi-Wan about Qui-Gon becoming a Force Ghost. And then, obviously, Yoda goes off and, like, learns it. But you thought Yoda would have already known that shit.
This is what we talked about last time. Considering Qui-Gon apparently knew how to do it, the way that it was explained in canon is anyone that knows how to become a Force Ghost and live on after death, their body does the whole evaporation thing.
Yeah.
But then I think he's basically trying to explain it that Qui-Gon has learned to do it after he's died. And that's why he's like, oh, there's an old friend who's learned how to do it, and he's going to teach you. Sam's got a point.
Right, you bastards, I fact-checked this planet.
Okay.
So Yavin 4 is a moon off Yavin, not a moon off Onderon. So
Okay.
Yavin is a big gas planet, which is what in
Gas
A New
giant.
Hope. Yeah, it's what they're trying to get past to be able to use the Death Star to blow up the Rebel base. It's what they're waiting to pass. Onderon is the planet that we get in the Clone Wars where Saw Gerrera is from. That's where I'm getting confused.
Oh, okay.
Right.
There's your fact check. You'll know who Saw Gerrera is if you've seen Rogue One as well. So that's where he's from. So
Yes.
it exists, but my fact was wrong. There you go.
Fact
Carry
checks. So Yavin 4 is the 4th moon of Yavin, I'm going to guess. How many moons does Yavin have? Fact check that while we continue talking about.
All right.
So
right,
we
all
get
right.
the epic fight between Obi-Wan and stuff, and then we get onto the Millennium Falcon again, and we get an argument between Leia and Han because Han's only in it for the money and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've never noticed how much of a fucking simp fucking Luke is before. She's just there like, your friend's quite a good mercenary. I wonder if he cares about anything. And Luke's just like, I care. I care about you a lot. Please kiss me again, my sister. Fucking simp.
Oh man. Oh no. It's quite sick,
I
isn't
feel
it?
like-
Like they made that beginning like that between Luke and Leia. It's quite sick.
Oh, they're kissing for 2 films before they decided that they were siblings.
Shocking. Shocking behaviour.
Make it out. Go on,
Go on,
Sam.
Sam.
26 moons.
26 moons. Holy crap.
It's a lot of moons. There you go.
Jesus.
That must be a giant.
I'm back for the podcast now. I've done fact
Right,
checking.
if you think about
Okay.
having 26 moons, that must they must never have a nighttime there. Because imagine how bright 26 moons are together. It's basically another sunlight.
Imagine the time. Well, it's a gas giant, isn't it? So
Oh, well,
you don't
no one
really have
living on
tides
there
and
anyway.
stuff. Nobody's. Yeah.
it's 26 world problems, that.
Although, like, Bespin and Cloud City is a gas giant as well, isn't it? They've made floating cities above the planet's surface.
Yeah, they mine gas. Try and figure that one out.
I mean, mining is in the Star Wars universe is just we collect something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you can't farm water either, but they're fucking moisture farmers, aren't they?
While we were talking about Leia really quick, did you guys notice how strange everybody else pronounces Leia apart from Luke, Han, and Leia?
Yeah, everyone's like, Leia, liar.
Tarkin says Leia. Everyone in the Imperial army says Leia. Princess Leia. It's like, what?
Yeah. Like, everyone in the Imperium is meant to be, like, British, though, aren't they? But even over here, like, Leia is spelt different. Like, that is
it's
Leia.
odd. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's odd. It's very odd. That was actually the end of my notes for this whole film, you know.
Okay,
The rest of it I
right.
just enjoyed, so I'll let you take it.
Right, what about Leia's outfit, right? So the whole white outfit, and then you go back to episode 2, and Padme's got pretty much the same outfits on, like that kind of foreshadowing's cool. Like they
You
wear the
notice
same
a
things.
lot of the female characters wear white. It's a symbol of purity, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
It's a cool little parallel, that, isn't it? I
Yeah.
noticed that. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I just jumped straight to the trench run after that. Like,
Yeah,
how cool
'cause-
is that trench run? And like we
Yeah.
said, like this is before CGI and everything. This is all done in cell animation with miniatures, bigatures,
Yeah.
like actual explosions and everything.
The amount of work that went into those films, like you see, like films like especially Star Wars for in the 70s pushing those sort of boundaries with films, and then you had all the Jim Henson movies and that, you know, they're all like puppets or stop motion.
Fantastic.
And like you think of how much man hours went into them to making every single detail look perfect, and now it's just well, not easily done, but it's like so like easy to do, if you get what I mean, on the computer. Like you don't have to go through all that effort. But that's the magical thing about it. When you look back at them Star Wars films, it's cool when you see that. But then obviously now the remasters are taking the CGI over and that. Like, what would you prefer? You two, would you prefer just to have those movies as they were with no added CGI on it, or would you rather have them now where there's a bit of CGI?
The only bit of CGI that I like really is Bespin in Empire Strikes Back. Obviously, like beforehand, we had like matte paintings and stuff, which I love the way the matte paintings look and stuff. But other, like, some of them, like they'll just run past plain white windows and stuff like that, or plain like painted clouds, and they've CGI'd a city in the background and stuff. I think that's the best use of CGI that they've used in these original trilogy. Other than that, I could do without it.
Yeah, I think it's really tough because I think a lot of the like, you know how you've got like the models of like the ships and the Star Destroyers and stuff that you see them literally using when they film it, and then they will chroma key it out and then put it in front of paintings and whatever. You get a massive nostalgia factor off that. But when I was watching this trilogy, I couldn't help but feel like I would really love to see it with proper CGI that we get now. There's a lot of scenes like that feel like they could just be wicked if they were done in modern times. Like
if we had them recreated like the beginning of The Last Jedi.
I mean, we pretty much did in The Force Awakens. We got a modern trench run, didn't we? But I just couldn't help but feel that there'd be so many cool parts. It's like the jumping ahead, but it's like the speeder sequence in Return of the Jedi on Endor. Like, imagine if you saw that now with what they are able to do now. You're never going to get that, and it's never going to be remastered into it, obviously. And I think people wouldn't. There's a lot of people that are pure about the original trilogy that don't want to ever see anything like that done with it. But I'd always think it'd be really interesting. It was a bit like we skipped past it, but we talked to Matt Pearson about it last week. The Vader Obi-Wan battle that got
somebody's remade it.
Yeah, someone remade it with Vader keyed out from Rogue One doing stuff in there, and then also just CGI'd it.
Stunt doubles and stuff.
Yeah, and just redid that as though it was a modern fight. And after seeing that, I totally love to see it. But I think that you watch these for nostalgia, so it's probably more for that. So yeah, I would. I would like to see it.
That could be like redone better, like obviously the space fights would look like sick, like you said, like imagine like Revenge of the Sith or The Last Jedi with the bombing run at the beginning and stuff like that. Imagine it looking like that. It would look fantastic, and it would be cool to see. Hours went into making these trench runs and stuff like that. It's multiple different layers of keying out and stuff like that. And I've actually got in my notes here, have you noticed that R2-D2 is black in these scenes? Because they keyed out the colour blue, so anything that was blue used to get keyed out. So R2-D2, all his blue panels are actually black in the trench run, because if they were blue, they would have keyed out, and you would have seen like the trench behind it or stars behind it and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because what they used to do is they used to shoot all the miniatures on a blue screen, and then they would obviously chroma key out the blue from the film. So then you would have one layer of film which is covering all the blue on the screen. So all you get on that plate is the X-Wing, say. And then the next one, they would just have the background, the miniature of the trench and stuff like that. And they would layer them on top of each other. So you ended up with like 8 different layers just to chrome out different aspects of it, so that you could have like the sky, the 3 different ships and everything like that.
That's all those manners, man. It's crazy, innit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Industrial Light and Magic must have the coolest Warhammer tabletop table to play shit on.
No, they have a Star Wars miniatures, or now Star Wars Legion it is now, isn't it? That's what they've got. They don't have Warhammer, they play Star Wars Legion, recreating the Battle of Endor.
We can't forget the medal scene at the end before we finish off. Hope.
So I've got 2 things. So when they first land on the ground, Luke shouting carry. Like, instead of Leia, when they have a big hug, he shouts carry instead. And then my next point was, where's Chewie's medal, you fuckers?
When does he shout carry?
When he's landed after blowing up the Death Star.
Yeah, when he gets out the X-Wing, like everyone runs around and celebrates, and Leia's the first one there to congratulate him. And like she's like, Luke, and grabs him for a hug, and he's like, carry!
Is that actually in the film?
Yeah,
that's one fact I didn't know about it. So cheers, guys.
He says it's so quick that like I never noticed it until it was pointed out to me.
What?
And then now I can't hear anything else. And then the medal scene, like Chewie, where's Chewie's medal?
He got one. He got one in the end.
That actually broke my heart in the cinema when he gets Han's medal at the end.
He's been through a lot, hasn't he?
He's a bit like R2-D2 and C-3PO. He's been there since Revenge of the Sith, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So.
Well, he was there before Revenge of the Sith. He's in Clone Wars as well, isn't he?
Yeah, true. He is in the Clone Wars a bit.
Watched all his race get taken out. Gets taken as a slave underneath like a base. Is it the Empire's base or something like that? Yeah. It's like a trooper base, isn't it? Like a big trooper base. Becomes a slave there. Like, what the fuck, man? He's been through some
Yeah,
shit.
the Wookiees get enslaved because they're one of the strongest races in the galaxy, aren't they?
Yeah.
That wraps up A New Hope, and we like to rate all of these between Star Wars and Star Wars, and I think we know how these are all going to go for this trilogy, but what would you rate it? Star Wars being not a good Star Wars film, or Star Wars being a great Star Wars film?
Star Wars.
There we go.
Has to be.
Sam?
I'd be lynched if I didn't say Star Wars.
Yeah, it's just Star Wars all around.
I'd say out of the three, this is probably the weakest of the three, in my opinion.
I think this probably comes second on most people's list for the original trilogy, but that's just because it's the original and it's set up so much. Like, it is great, but at the same time, like, it was a clusterfuck of production as well. Like, it went under so many rewrites and re-edits and everything like this. Like, the film was almost so different. Like, we're lucky that we got Star Wars at all.
Yeah, this was meant to be a bust, wasn't it? They didn't think it was going to do very well at all when it came out.
I mean, it's still great. It's still a Star Wars. So, on to Empire Strikes Back now. And the first thing straight off the bat, we're at the Battle of Hoth. And damn, this is so much more cinematic. Like, you could tell that, like, people had faith in this film after the first one.
Yeah.
More Hoth-style ice planets. That's what I say.
No.
Star Killer Base wasn't enough.
Less desert planets, more snow planets. That's what Sam wants.
I think it's
I
awesome.
want more jungle planets, to be honest.
Jungle-based stuff is the hardest kind of stuff to film in cinema. That's why they don't do as many. So, but yeah, I think Hoth is like the coolest. It's the first time you get the Imperials look menacing, innit?
Like they know what they're fucking doing.
Yeah, considering they've just had the Death Star blown up, you've got them in that fucking humongous Star Destroyer, the Executor or whatever the hell it is. That is questionably more menacing than a Death Star, I'd say. But then you land those AT-ATs down and it's just like so brutal. But yeah, I think this is like the best introduction out of all three. I think this beats Jabba's Palace. I think it beats the intro to A New Hope. I think it's just wicked. I think everything takes a massive step up, but that is because they shot it in a blizzard.
Yeah.
This is all practical, essentially.
If you watch Empire of Dreams, which is a documentary about like these original three films being made, like they literally sent out Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford into a blizzard that was happening to get like the distant shots of them and stuff like that. Like they were all in a nice warm hut type thing, and these guys were out in an actual fucking blizzard in like Antarctica or fucking buttfuck nowhere.
It's crazy, isn't it? But right, there's one thing I want to say as well. Playing the new Star Wars game, it was so cool how they showed Kashyyyk in it. Because, like, that's gone up on my scale, like, in planets from Star Wars. Like, Kashyyyk is a beautiful planet when you go through it on the game, especially the big trees.
Battlefront 2 is just great.
Yeah.
Every depiction you get of Kashyyyk, you get it in the Knights of the Old Republic game, and it's just so much going on there. There's like Shadowlands to Kashyyyk. There's like all sorts of really cool stuff that they should like go into. But Wookiee stuff's dead interesting.
I think we need The Lion King, but in Star Wars, and it's on Kashyyyk. With the Shadowlands.
Fucking Mowgli in that, walking around.
No, that's Jungle Book, you silly bugger.
Oh, it is.
We want Lion King, we want Simba.
I'll get mixed between them two.
Chewbacca's the chosen one.
It's all Disney, isn't it? They'll chuck anyone in it now.
Going back to Hoth, how sick do the Tauntauns look? The things they ride on.
Oh, so
really
good.
sick.
Well, they're stop motion again, them.
I think the shots that you get of them further away are stop motion, aren't they? And then all the close up, there's like a puppet or whatever that they're using, but it looks wicked. And then you've got the Wampa.
Yeah, the abominable snowman looking
I had
fucking
nightmares of when I first watched this film. This was such a scary bit of the film when I first watched it all those years ago that I couldn't watch this bit. I had to skip past it because it scared me.
That's another horror movie.
Yeah, that's it. Revenge of the Wampa.
Yeah, that's another horror movie. That
so brutal though. It's such a cool thing. How it's just got blood all over its mouth. And...
Like this film definitely like went a bit darker. Like this was like, shit's getting serious in this film. Like family drama, we got it. Bloody abominable snowmans, we got it. People losing limbs, hell yeah.
Yeah, and it's a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
It's a guy in a suit, and it looks amazing.
Well, Chewbacca's a guy in a suit with like individually threaded hairs, like
yeah, but I'm
Peter
gonna just
Mayhew.
say this. I'm just gonna say this about the Chewbacca suit. Anything you get from a shot down looking up where he holds his arms up looks so weird because he's got like dead skinny arms, and it's like really like light fur, just like
Yeah.
you know,
it's
what I mean?
rubbed off from him walking.
Yeah.
It's crazy that they found these people perfect for them characters, though, innit?
Oh, were
That
you
was
a
so
million
perfect.
foot tall? Can we put you in a furry
Yeah,
suit?
we put him in it. And what about Warwick
Yeah.
Davis's constant appearance in all the Star Wars films as different characters?
Brilliant.
That's like one
class,
little
yeah.
like thing as well. That's always there.
Yeah.
I noticed
So
that
we'll
watching
get to his
Solo.
first appearance in the next one.
Yeah,
Because that was his first appearance, was Return of the Jedi, wasn't it? But so we get Han Solo saving Luke and everything like that, and then again we have Princess Leia kissing her goddamn brother, like just to try and make him jealous. Like the older I get and the more I watch this, I hate the way that Han treats Leia in the first half of this film. Like he's proper like negging her, like he's
Yeah.
proper like treating her like shit, just being like, oh, if you treat a woman like shit, you'll get her in the end. Like, you just
Yeah.
gotta wear her down type thing. It's like, that shit would not fly today. He's just like pretty rapey. Like later on when they have like the kiss scene and stuff like that, she says no multiple times and he backs her into a corner. But like,
Fucking
Different
hell.
time.
it is a
different
very
time. You've
different
got-
time. Like,
You've got to take people out to dinner now.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, you did back then, but like this was a real big problem with cinema and TV and stuff like that. Like the way that relationships were depicted in this sort of era was like, there's a lot of problems with it. Like you see it all over the place. Like it gets compared to Cheers a lot and stuff like that. Like it is a problem that we probably shouldn't have been teaching young children.
Yeah, but there's a lot of snowflakes that'll probably pick up on that. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of
snowflake that picked
snowflakes.
up on it, yeah. The thing is, though, it worked out in the end. Like, clearly she did love him and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's still not great nowadays. But you can't hide stuff like that. Like Sam said, like, it's a thing of the time. It's like, you can't hide stuff like that and racist depictions in Dumbo and stuff like that. Like, you've got to admit that it happened. If you brush it under the carpet, you're just making it worse.
Yeah, you're more ignorant to it.
And just because we like to chat shit about how some stuff is a lot different now and how there's some things in Star Wars just kind of don't make sense.
Like kissing your brother.
Like kissing your brother and your sister. But why didn't Luke just use his lightsaber as like a homing beam for Han to see him? Because you would see that through the snow. There's like parts
Like a
in this
flare.
where, as I've got older and more cynical, I'm like, surely this guy must know if he just plants his lightsaber into the snow and switches it on, that Han will see him and find him a lot
100%.
quicker, and he won't have to go inside of a tauntaun and eat shit inside of that for a bit.
He's just had most of his face ripped off. Like, he's freezing to death. He's seeing ghosts. Like, I think the last thing he's thinking of is like, oh shit, I better light my lightsaber, because he doesn't even know that Han's looking for him.
That's what Ben should have told him to do. Light your lightsaber, you idiot.
Yeah, you told him to like close his eyes and shoot the photon torpedo blind, but you won't tell him how to get saved.
Do you know what'd be hilarious, right? If like Luke comes out of that cave and he bumps into Vince off Mighty Boosh in the Arctic tundra. He bumps into the Mighty Boosh on the Arctic tundra and he's like, "Hey, that's what you doing here?"
With the wind as my only friend.
Mighty Boosh Star Wars crossover has to happen.
Oh, let's fucking get it done. I'd love to see Noel Fielding in a Star Wars film. Jesus Christ, that'd be
Fucking hell.
hilarious. What alien race would he be?
He'd definitely be his own race of somebody, wouldn't he? Like, he's not going to be human. He can't be.
I reckon it would be like one of the vampire ones that you see from him, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Anyway. So then we get like the kiss scene between them as well. The music in this is my favorite music in Star Wars, I think. Like, there's a reason it was the first song that was used in the Force Awakens trailer and everything. Like, this song slaps. Like, I saw this with a live orchestra, and there was like 3 times that I ended up welling up. First of all was when they first started blaring the fucking intro scene when the crawl started. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is a thing. I'm seeing a live goddamn orchestra with Empire Strikes Back. It's fantastic. And then when this Han and the Princess starts playing, so good. I know Sam went to see A New Hope, didn't you? Like, seeing it with a live orchestra is like, everything hits different.
Was this at the Lowry?
No, it was at the Manchester Arena.
I saw mine at the Liverpool Echo.
Yeah. I remember now, actually.
But it makes you realise and appreciate how much music is dotted around in these films that even when it's really quiet, how much you actually miss.
Yeah.
And I noticed in these 3 films, there's a lot of music that's not like themes that really hits as well. There's one like favourite bit that I'll get onto like when we get right towards the end, but yeah, it proper kills it, but it's what everything else was based off, isn't it? So it's...
Yeah, this is the thing, like, it's weird because like you realise how like how important the music is within the movies, and it's the same with any movie ever made. Like, but most people don't think about that when they think of a movie and how it's made. They don't think about the music side of it. But when you realise how important that is, it's the same with horror movie. Like on our podcast when we chat about like horrors and that, we always go on about the music because if that wasn't there and that person didn't know exactly what they were doing, it would be completely like awful.
Yeah, I mean the Halloween theme's a perfect example, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's so sinister. So
yeah. I think a lot of like good music sometimes like blends into the background, and it's more like it gives you a feeling without you notice it being there. Like Sam was saying, like even in like the quiet moments of this film, there's music near enough throughout. Like it made me realize when I saw it live, the scenes that didn't have any music in. Like it was weird when it didn't have any music and the orchestra like stopped for a minute, and there's only probably like 4 scenes in the entire thing that doesn't have any music, and they're very short. Or like the scene will start off silent to create tension or something, and then it'll swell the music in.
I'm curious to what scenes were there, like the quiet ones.
I can't remember at the moment, but like there's a few moments where like he'll just sort of like cut out, and it'll be mostly for dialogue and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it'll swell in, or sound effects and stuff.
I think in A New Hope it was bits where it was like Luke and Obi-Wan having a conversation. And then when he like ignites the lightsaber for the first time, there wasn't any music there. But there was a lot of times when they were like on the Falcon and stuff that there'd be like a little stint of music and it'd be quiet and you wouldn't realise it's there. But because you're watching this orchestra start and stop all the time, you're really noticing it a lot more.
Yeah.
I don't think they've done the Return of the Jedi one yet.
No, that was meant to be this year, but obviously
so that if you get the chance to go, it's totally an experience.
Yeah,
it's wicked. Yeah,
I think we said we were going to try and go to see that one together. Probably. It's normally at the end of the year. It's a great way to end the year.
Right.
Also, if you just generally like have the chance to go watch a film with like a whole bunch of people in a massive space everyone who really likes that film, but the film's been out for a really long time. Me and Chris, like we're going off on a bit of a tangent, so I'll wrap it up really quick. But when we went to Star Wars Celebration years ago, we went and watched 2 films, didn't we? So we watched The Force Awakens,
and we watched A New Hope.
And we watched A New Hope in the London XL convention space with, must have been like 1,000 people.
Yeah, probably in that room,
in there.
All dressed in cosplay, all dressed up with lightsabers.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Man, it's like you're watching the film for the first time again. If you just ever get a chance to do it or go in and watching it in like with a live orchestra or anything like that, can't stress how much you'd enjoy it. We'll talk
about The Force Awakens on the next episode when we saw that at Star Wars Celebration, because that's already in my notes for that episode.
Yeah.
Because people around the world watch cinema different to the UK as well. Like in the UK, you're silent unless like you're laughing or you're screaming or like something really cool happens, then you might get a bit of like, ooh, like, but in America, like they are chanting, they are like screaming, like just they're like, oh, like when like a character appears or something like that. And like, that's what it's like seeing Star Wars with the group of fans. Like, I remember when we went to see The Force Awakens, the midnight premiere, so you haven't had a Star Wars film in goddamn years.
Yeah.
This is The Force Awakens, the opening score hits, and people started cheering. And that was the first time I've ever experienced it in the UK cinema, and it was fucking great.
I just want to stress, we haven't finished Hoth yet on Empire Strikes Back.
Well, that's the thing, like, Hoth is like half an hour of this film. And if we move on from Hoth, bounty hunters, the introduction of the bounty hunters. This is like this film's moment, like the cantina, where you see a load of new races and new robots and everything, new droids, and these are like the nastiest of the nasty. These guys mean business. These guys are going to vaporize. Remember, no disintegrations this time.
And that's what you think until you've seen Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. How cool was that? Like seeing Boba Fett for the first time, seeing Bosk and IG-88.
I think they were wicked. I think it's a shame that obviously Boba, you get a bit of Boba in the film, obviously, but it's a shame you didn't have a sequence where you see these bounty hunters trying to get Han, you know what I mean? And the Falcon. It's a shame that you didn't see more of that. And it's only really Boba who managed to find him, because what you assume, the other bounty hunters, so you had Dengar, IG-88, Bosk, those three couldn't find the Falcon.
You had the book-faced robot as well, I can't remember his code.
Nah, but yeah, they never get it. And Bosk and Dengar are super interesting, and IG-88 are all really interesting characters. But I think it's a proper cool, because you get the Imperials as well in there being like, bounty hunters? Why do they need bounty hunters? They won't find them, or blah blah blah. You know, and being all pretentious and whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, it is cool because you get like Bosk's feet hanging over the edge, and he's like doing all his Trandoshan noises and stuff, and wicked.
I think it was really cool how they created those things as well. Like IG-88 was like a last minute sort of like, right, okay, let's build a guy out of a flask essentially, and he doesn't move because he's just like a little like robot frame, so he's just sort of there in the background. And I think it's Bosk's spacesuit is a leftover prop from Doctor Who, because obviously they shot him down in Pinewood in London, which is where a lot of Doctor Who was filmed. So yeah, it's a leftover prop from Doctor Who, and then they put the reptile face on it and stuff.
Well, like IG-88's head was made out of the cantina stuff, wasn't it? The things in the background of the cantina from A New Hope. That's where that head comes from. So you also get that same droid later on Bespin as well. You get another IG droid.
Yeah. They're assassin droids, really, aren't they?
The coolest link that's made between like the prequels and the OGs is like Boba Fett and Jango Fett. Like that sort of relationship and that crossover in between them. I thought that was really cool. Like when they introduced him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the best things they probably did was put the Jango actor's voice over Boba Fett. I can't think of his name, but putting his voice in there.
Aquaman's dad.
Yeah, Aquaman's dad. the New Zealand guy.
The only New Zealand accent. I think I said this last time, but the more that I see of young Boba Fett, the more I hate Boba Fett. Like, Boba Fett's one of my favourite characters. Like, he's hardly in him, but he's such a cool design. Like, this was the first time we ever saw Mandalorian armour. And, a guy with a rocket pack and everything like that. Like, this guy captured the imagination of so many Star Wars fans again. Like what's a Mandalorian? Like, he's like the baddest ass bounty hunter in the universe or some shit. Like, but then you see like Boba Fett, and he's just so fucking annoying. Yeah.
And he absolutely eats ass in Return of the Jedi.
I beg your pardon.
Is that a bad thing to say on a podcast?
Well, he does fall into a giant gaping asshole with teeth in it in the sand, I guess.
Okay, that's got to probably been the worst on-screen death you could ever have if you fell into a big asshole with spikes on it.
Like he's killed off so unceremoniously. Like, he does nothing in that fight, and he gets his jetpack like blasted and fucking falls in.
He had the rule of cool. He had it.
We need to get him into the Sarlacc pit, but he's got a jetpack, so he should be able to fly out. Oh, we'll just take out the jetpack and he'll fly him in. Okay, so Vader at that point again chokes yet another person. Like, I think he chokes like 4 different generals in this film. 3 or 4, and my note is Vader's going to run out of people to promote at this rate. Like, he's just choking people throughout this trilogy. Like, how do they have any troopers left? He's just fucking dead.
I wonder how much they're getting paid. To take all that shit. Yeah, it is. It's proper danger money. Like, you don't want to be elected to be that guy. Like, they're all shit scared.
They've got a wife and family somewhere on an Imperial-run planet somewhere.
Yeah.
Just there, like, when's Daddy gonna come home? Oh, he just got choked out by Vader. Never mind. Someone brings in like his shirt with his medals to his kid. We haven't talked about Grand Moff Tarkin in any of these yet. Like, he's cool. He's menacing.
The CGI
So
on
we
that
got
is
the
really
whole
good as
bit.
well.
Oh, on Rogue One.
Yeah, with
pretty
his
good.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks wicked. And again, there's a lot of bits like when they're escaping Hoth and you get Vader, he makes the appearance with the snowtroopers when they're trying to blow the Falcon down.
Yeah.
I really wish that you had Rogue One moments in there. So this is coming back to when I said that I'd love to see a modern take on some scenes from these films. That I'd love to see Vader like grab the Falcon as it's like flying away, but then can't hold it or something, and like, oh, they managed to break free, or it's like the way that plays out in my head is Vader walks into the hangar, sees that it's getting away, Force grabs it, and then they just like he calculates a hyperspace and goes into hyperspace, like, and escapes that way. That'd just be like so wicked. Like, I'd love to see that. Love to see it, but it's
somebody get it made for Sam now.
Someone get it made for me.
Right, again, we're just pitching stuff to Disney now. Like, give me and Sam a budget, and we'll make some cool Star Wars shit.
Let me just
Sam,
be the
and David
idea, man.
Yeah.
Let's be the idea, man.
We'll write your next Darth Vader VR experience.
That's the thing. Have any diehard Star Wars fans ever got involved in any of the films?
Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
Dave Filoni that makes the Clone Wars, and he directs a couple episodes of The Mandalorian. Like, that guy is the biggest Star Wars nerd you will ever meet.
So he probably pitched it to them, like he was like a big, massive Star Wars nerd, and he just pitched that idea to them and sold it.
Dave Filoni was taken on for the original Clone Wars series when it came round. And he thought, when he had the phone call from Lucasfilm to recruit him for the job, he thought he was getting pranked called by somebody else at Nickelodeon where he was working.
Yeah, because he was working on The Last Airbender, and he thought it was the SpongeBob team trying to fuck with him.
He literally, throughout the whole phone interview, was like, yeah, all right, yeah, so George really wants to speak to me, yeah, all right, okay, we'll schedule the interview for this day. And then he says at the end of it, who put you up to this? And the person from Lucasfilm's on the other end, like, excuse me, like what?
As if,
and then he has the right guy.
Yeah, but I think everyone is now. I think anybody that gets involved with Star Wars now, like from a directing or an acting point of view, is pretty much going to be a fan.
Well,
it's massive, isn't it?
J.J. Abrams, like, his mentors in filmmaking were George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Like, his first job in Hollywood was archiving footage for Steven Spielberg.
That's mad.
That's crazy.
So to move on, because we do need to talk about another film and a half, a film in a bit. I think the next bit that we get after this is Luke goes to Dagobah, where we meet Yoda, and Yoda is batshit insane in this film.
Crazy.
He's actually, I'd say almost, he's your favourite character with a certain parody, isn't it, Matty?
Oh, yeah. He hates those seagulls.
That's what I was trying to reference
really hates
there.
those
The bad
seagulls.
lip sync. Yeah. Bad lip reading, so fucking good.
Oh.
It's literally when he falls over where Luke's like holding him up on his feet and he does these eyes or whatever. It's all I can think of. So
it's so good.
But what do you think about the Yoda stuff in this after because we obviously just watched 1, 2, and 3. It's a very, very, very different Yoda that we get. Obviously, 100%. I reckon he's gone a bit loopy because he's been on Dagobah for so long.
Yeah.
But what are thoughts on Yoda in this?
He's been in isolation, that's why. We're all becoming crazy Yoda at the moment.
But wouldn't Obi-Wan be the same, though? Because he's just been on his own as well.
No, because he's been interacting with like regular life forms on
true,
Tatooine, whereas on Dagobah he's just surrounded by bugs and snakes.
Yeah,
seagulls.
That's a good point. Yeah, and the seagulls. Yeah.
If you actually notice, like in the original version of that as well, like there's just like iguanas, like they've just put like earth reptiles and bugs all over the place. That's just a spider. That's just an iguana. That's just a python hanging from a tree. Are you sure he's not on Earth, just in a jungle somewhere? He's just in the Amazon rainforest is all it is.
Yeah. So, like, I thought this was pretty cool in Mandalorian when they introduced the Baby Yoda, because you've never seen his race before, apart from him. Pretty cool, because you're like, hang on a second. Is that
you had
Yoda
the female version of him on the Jedi Council in episode 1 as well.
Yeah, it's one of those if you blink you miss it moments, but
I didn't
in
even
the
see
Phantom
that.
Menace. Yeah, in the
Really?
Phantom Menace on the Jedi Council, there's another Yoda that's a female version, yeah.
What happened to her? What happened? Yeah,
Well, she's not on the council anymore, is
Yeah.
she? So,
Order 66 happened to her.
So she was
Far
gone by
too
episode 2 then? You don't see her in episode 2?
no,
She's not on the council at that point.
Oh,
You need
I
to get
wonder
on
why she-
Wikipedia for that.
Yeah.
She has actually got a name on Wikipedia.
Yeah, it is a.
She had
it's a
she had a
thing.
comic book about her in like the early 2000s or something.
Right?
Interesting.
Never knew.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Empire Strikes Back, because like you said, we've still got another whole film to talk about after this. Okay, Cloud City. You get the introduction of the smoothest man in the galaxy, Lando Calrissian.
Yeah,
You get
I
him
like Lando.
betraying the
Brilliant
team.
character. Yeah.
Can we trust him or not? Like, he is a proper scoundrel at that point. He's definitely being a lot more charming towards Leia than Han is at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where you get Solo's added like quite a bit of value to these interactions.
So I was
and
just
stuff,
about to
'cause
say, yeah. Childish Gambino did such a good job.
Donald Glover,
Yeah.
fantastic. But Billy D. Williams, the original Lando Calrissian, like
Yeah.
you're not getting Donald Glover's performance without Billy D. Williams being the smoothest guy in
no.
Hollywood.
100%. 100%. But you got to see a lot of like Lando Calrissian's personality though, so you know why he's like that in the OG films. Because obviously you see
Yeah.
the whole card trick that he tries to pull on Han Solo, and then obviously Han Solo tricks him back at the end and wins his Millennium Falcon. But
In the game of
those sort
Spock.
of little things, yeah,
it does help you build on that relationship that they have in this film as well.
yeah. You appreciate him a lot
Definitely.
more. I think that's one thing
Yeah.
they did cool.
Yeah,
So-
and I think it helps with that little bit because he betrays him a little bit in this film because he makes
Yeah.
a deal with the Empire, and it kind of makes you realise that that's the kind of person he is. Because when you look at what some of the stuff he does in Solo, it can
Yeah.
be quite questionable. There's a lot of tie-ins that Solo does to the original trilogy, to be fair, because I think in this you get him talk about the Falcon's got like a weird voice, like it talks to C-3PO weird or something. He was like, I don't know what the computer you have on this, but that's because that droid from L337 or whatever it is, Elite or whatever, from Solo is the brain of the Falcon,
Yeah.
which is an interesting little tie-in as well.
This led to like the coolest interaction, I think, one of the coolest lines of dialogue in this film as well, when he's about to be frozen in carbonite, and you get the "I love you, I know," and then he just goes down, and like
Yeah.
a lot of people are just there like, that's a little bit cold and like a bit brash of him, but like the way I always took that was like, if he in that moment said like "I love you" back, then like she's going to be devastated in that moment. But the fact that he just says like "I know," first of all, he's cool. He's just there like, I know you do. like it's playing off like the relationship, the back and forth that they've had and stuff like that. But also like I feel like he's consciously like not creating that over attachment so that she's not like distraught when he goes in, like she'll still focus on everything.
Watching these back made me realise that I think I like Han more of a character than what I like Luke in the original trilogy. Defo.
100%.
That's what I always thought. Like growing up, like Han's always been my favourite character from this trilogy. Well, I'll probably say Princess Leia is my favourite character, then Han now.
Yeah.
But that's as I've grown up. When I was a kid, I was just like, fucking Han Solo's a baller. He's the coolest man in the galaxy.
No, I grew up thinking Jar Jar Binks was awesome.
We all grew up thinking Jar Jar Binks was awesome.
It's controversial. It's controversial.
Then we hit like 30 and then we were like, Jar Jar Binks is a fuckwit. And then as we've got older, we're like, okay, we get it. He was for kids. We're not kids anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just appreciate the fact that Lando totally Order 66 is Lobot, who's the bald guy with the computer in his head?
Yep.
He like flicks a little thing on his wrist and then Lobot just like activates and like betrays him. It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
There's so many like little side characters in Star Wars that are wicked, that are just like, you just need to know more about.
Like,
it's like, yeah.
If that was any other film, you wouldn't know the name of that character, but because it's Star Wars, he's called Lobot, and everybody knows that. And he's had his own stories in the expanded universe and stuff. Like, anyone that appears on screen in these films has got something about them somewhere. It's what makes the universe feel lived in. Right. Luke versus Darth Vader fight.
Ooh.
Talk to me, guys. Talk to me. Is this the best lightsaber fight that we have in this trilogy? We only have two, so you got Ben and Vader, and then you've got Luke and Vader.
Vader's a lot more aggressive in this versus what he is in A New Hope with the lightsaber fighting, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the lightsaber fights, it's not about the lightsaber fights, it's about all the interactions in between.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's like the whole stuff where he's trying to convert Luke, and obviously the scene on the edge. It's like you don't come to the original trilogy for the lightsaber fights, you come for the story, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I think that's what makes this fight so impactful, like you said, is because you have those story beats throughout it. Like, first of all, like, that first shot of them squaring up looks so cool. Like, you've got the really dark blues and the orange glowing lights and the steam everywhere, and then you get the lightsabers igniting and crossing over for the first time. That looks so cool. And then, like you said, the fight is just progressing and progressing and progressing. It's visual storytelling at the end of the day. Like, Luke is literally pushed to the edge. He's literally got nowhere else to run.
Yeah.
And they're just in that moment, and you get the, no, I am your father. You know it to be true.
That's a massive twist. That, imagine watching that for the first time. Like, again, and just like seeing that big twist in between that. Obviously, actually, like, we kind of knew-ish where it was heading, who was going to be Darth Vader and stuff, but do you know what I mean, when we watched it? But back in the 70s, when they watched it for the first time, that's like one of those moments where you sat in the cinema and you're like, fuck off.
You can go back and watch cinema reactions to people with that, and people freak out, man. It's so good. So good.
Imagine finding that out. That's like, being there in that moment. And because, like, it was just like a thing that you grew up knowing. Like, whether you had seen Star Wars or not, our generation grew up knowing that Darth Vader was Luke's dad. And, like, everybody quotes it wrong. It's just like, Luke, I am your father. That's not the quote. Like, everybody just knew it. Everybody just knew that there's certain facts in life that you know, like, you're born and you know how to breathe, and you know that Darth Vader is Luke's father.
It's such a shame that our generation, the equivalent we got was Snoke telling Kylo Ren that Han's his dad, and then we got Rey as a Palpatine, and that's going to be our equivalent of that, and it hurts.
Where are we going from that? Here we go. What is it with the obsession with this original trilogy and hands and, well, Star Wars in general and people's hands getting cut off? Like, clearly George Lucas was like, okay, we're cutting hands off in Empire Strikes Back, so every single one of the prequels is going to have some sort of dismemberment to it. Like,
but then it literally gets fixed with a human hand 15 minutes later, and there's no, it's one of them. He's lost a part of himself. It was cool in the cinema for him to lose his hand. It was a reason why he was so, like, fucked at the end of the film, you know what I mean? So.
Well, that's what I've got on here as well. Following on from Obi-Wan's lead in Attack of the Clones, we've got Luke just yeeting himself off the side of the cloud. Like, he doesn't know how Cloud City's like formed. He doesn't know if there's going to be a tunnel there that's just going to toss him down towards the gas emptiness below him, or whether he's going to get caught in a service pipe or something like that. He just fucking tosses himself off.
That's it. That's the end. That's the end of Star Wars.
Just yeet. Just off again. Darth Vader never has his redemption. Actually, he probably would, because, like, they did the what if storylines, didn't they, with the comic books? So, like, they did a what if after each of these 3 films. What if things had gone differently? So what if Luke either went to the dark side or died in this, and Leia then went to train with Yoda after that? That's what Marvel said happened back when Marvel used to make the comic books for this back in the 80s.
There's an interesting bit where Luke leaves Dagobah and Yoda and Obi-Wan have a conversation, like have a really quick conversation, and say, Yoda says, even if he's not the one, there is another.
Yeah.
And it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Now, when you think back, at the time, you're going to think, yeah, it's going to be Leia, innit? It's his sister. He knows there's another one.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, now that we've had the sequel trilogy, I wonder, maybe is Yoda referring to Rey very much in the future?
Possibly.
Fucking hell, man. That's thinking deep into it, that.
It's thinking
it's
deep.
Possible,
it's thinking deep. It's thinking deep, but there is a prophecy.
See, I still think that he's talking about. See, my thing, I've got one of these points on here for Return of the Jedi. Was he maybe still talking about Vader? Because that's my question we'll get to during Return of the Jedi. I'll ask you guys the follow-up question from that. But that is an interesting thing that we need to think of. Just to round off this film, I'm getting sick and tired of how C-3PO is talking to R2-D2. Like, he's being a real prick to him. He's just being a sassy little bitch to him. And then so Leia has literally just confessed her love to Han, that he's been frozen in carbonite, and then she just straight up mouth kisses her brother. Like, he's lay there on the bed, and like Lando's like, Leia. So she's like, okay, big old kiss, all right, BRB, you take care of yourself, missing the hand and all that while I go speak to Lando. You've literally 5 minutes earlier confessed your love to this man, and then you're kissing someone. You're just like straight up mouth kissing your brother. And also, like, she says in Return of the Jedi, somehow she always knew that, like, they were related. So why are you kissing him?
But she decided to give it a go anyway.
Dirty, I know, like, I know, like, the internet's, like, got a weird thing for step siblings nowadays, but these guys are literal siblings.
Jesus Christ.
Anything else for Empire Strikes Back that people want to say?
No, have you got anything else to say, Matty?
No, I'm happy getting on to the next point.
Before that,
the tried and true.
We have to do the Star Wars or Star Wars, even though we all know what this is going to be.
Right.
Is it Star Wars or Star Wars for you, Matty?
The second one.
Yes.
Star Wars.
Really?
You don't like Empire Strikes Back?
It's good. I love it. You know I love it.
Controversy! But you're going to say this is the worst out of the trilogy?
Right.
So you're giving it a Star Wars?
No, I don't know, right? Because now you're going back to what you guys said before. Because number four,
explain yourself.
Number 4 sets it all up, and you get introduced to all these different like worlds and everything like that, and you get, you know what I mean? You fall in love with the soundtrack and everything, and then
it's the original.
I mean, that's what I mean. It's the original. You've got that against that, right? I think if you took that whole sort of like it's the original thing off it, and everything that came with it. And if you forgot about like which one was introduced first, then obviously that'll probably go last. But in retrospect, looking at it, number 4 is my second.
Okay,
fair.
So
it's an
interesting Star Wars for Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Sam, what are you saying?
I don't want to say Star Wars, but I think like I have to just choose it for this one, or else I'd say Star. Like, was it Star Wars for all of them?
Star Wars is a good. Star Wars is a bad. Like.
Jeez.
Yeah. You can still say it's a Star Wars, it's just not, yeah.
No, it is a
controversy, that's what we like on this podcast. Right. Bold statements.
It is a Star Wars, but if you like, I feel like I've got to like vote a Star Wars in one of them. So
it
has to be
what you're saying is, in the grand scheme of Star Wars as a 9-picture thing, it's a Star Wars, but in this trilogy for you, it's a Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the worst one out of the 3 for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, what is it for you?
Star Wars, this is the best in the trilogy for me.
It's Star Wars for me as well. It's the best in the trilogy.
What's your worst?
We'll get to that at the end. We'll get to the definitive ranking.
Well, we're ranking them as we go along,
I've just told you my ranking.
Yeah, we're ranking them as we go along. So I'd say mine is, my favourite is Empire Strikes Back, and then my least favourite is A New Hope.
See, I always struggle with second and third. Like, when I was a kid, Return of the Jedi was my favourite. Like, because it had, like, the Ewoks and stuff like that, and the cool Jabba's Palace and stuff like that. And then as soon as I hit, like, 50, and I was like, no, Empire Strikes Back is the best. That's how it is. And now I can't decide which one is third and second between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. Because A New Hope is the original. Like, that was Star Wars. Before it was A New Hope, it was Star Wars. So I think I would probably put A New Hope second, just because of what it did.
Fair enough.
So I agree with your methodology for that, Matt. But I would definitely say that Empire should be number 1 and Return of the Jedi should be number 3. Like, if you're arguing which is better between Empire and Return of the Jedi, like, Return of the Jedi has a 40-minute segment at the beginning, which is Jabba's Palace, which led to Boba Fett just getting yeeted into a Sarlacc pit.
It's like, I agree with what you're saying, Matty, but you're wrong.
You're entitled to your opinion, you're fine, but you're wrong. I'm sorry, it's a terrible opinion, but you're entitled to have it anyway.
I'm going to get killed for that, Anna, as soon as this goes out.
We won't kill you. The internet might do, though.
Guests are safe on this.
You might find that An Earful Podcast has some bad reviews after this, and people are just saying,
I heard him
on Get Real. I heard him on Get Real, and he says he doesn't like Empire Strikes Back, so I'm downvoting his podcast.
That's going to be Chris leaving you the review, nobody else.
No.
No, I've already left a good review on it. Don't worry. Anyway, Return of the Jedi. We're in sync, Sam.
So we've pretty much already spoken about. I was surprised how fast this film moved. Like, before I knew it, we were already on Endor. So there's
that's the thing, because it's like the first. I think it's like the first 35 minutes, 40 minutes of this are all on Tatooine, dealing with Jabba stuff, and like that seems bizarrely long because, like you said, it goes so fast.
Yeah. I always thought Endor was a lot longer. It was like quite surprising how quickly Luke was in front of the Emperor. That was the bit for me, which I always remembered that being right at the end of the film. But it was a while ago since I watched Return of the Jedi in full. So yeah, I mean, we have a really cool Vader intro in this. I really liked the Vader intro. Plus, he looked awesome in this because he's in the Imperial hangar and it's like Vader looking awesome, right? Yeah. You get the Emperor coming in, which is cool. But yeah, I think the practical effects look wicked in this. That's my first takeaway. Like everything in terms of the Jabba's palace looks awesome. The Rancor looks amazing.
Oh, so good.
Touch on the Rancor. That's like the main features that you've got of the Jabba scene is the Rancor bit, I'd say. And then you've got the barge where you have the Sarlacc pit. They're like the two standouts.
Yeah. Princess Leia.
Slave Leia.
Leia.
That just awoke 1,000 horny geeks. Like that's all that did. Like,
and you nearly skipped it, Sam.
I didn't nearly skip it. I was just saying that.
All right, okay. So we did it for
it.
the cantina. Do you want to name the different characters inside of the Jabba's palace?
I don't think we have time.
Right, okay. I just really quickly want to talk about Max Rebo then, because Max Rebo is the coolest little blue guy in the entire Star Wars galaxy. Like, that band is so cool, and Salacious Crumb is a little shit.
I won't lie, though. They got the real short end of the stick in terms of the remasters for this musical bit. Because if I was a Star Wars fan... And this is like the Canto Bites for me of the original series. Like, just the whole music bit.
Scene,
the music bit is just like it's not Star Wars. For me, that's not Star Wars. It's just so out of place. My notes are, I bet Star Wars fans were like, what the fuck? When they saw this remaster. Because I think it's just not in there in the original cut, isn't it?
No, they cut it out. So you see
there.
the band playing, but you don't have like the full musical number and dance scene and everything.
Yeah, it's just nuts. It's like a popular artist doing half of a song on a talk show in America. That's what it's like. It's like that.
Yeah.
And it's just, for
it's
me...
Like the tacked on bit at the end of SNL where Kanye West is doing a bit.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But it's some crazy half Rhodian, half just bizarre alien that gets more of an arc in the Clone Wars TV series.
Yeah, because she's in love with Zero the Hutt, isn't she? Because I think in the original it was just Oola doing the dance and then she's trying to get off the chain, isn't she? And she gets thrown into the Sarlacc pit.
Oola is the green Twi'lek that gets ate by the Rancor, by the way.
Yes.
That Chris is talking about.
Yeah.
Well, the Rancor's cool.
The Rancor is so cool. And then you get like the fat Rancor handler coming out at the end, like sobbing over the dead body. It's like, no, my pet!
Yeah, the Rancor scene's awesome. I remember that being so menacing when I first watched it. And I was like, it's a bit like the Wampa, but for me, not as scary as the Wampa.
You got Bib Fortuna as well. Like the guy with like the long tentacle scarf thing that's his hair. And his first introduction is Yowanawanga.
Jabba's palace is like one of those iconic scenes, though, isn't it?
Yeah, just the creatures. It was that world building again of so many different races.
Yeah. The Gamorrean Guard, can't forget about them. I forgot how disgusting they were proper disgusting in this film. Forgot how gross they were.
Also, Luke just force chokes them. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he's a Jedi Knight now. Yeah,
but the Force choke is dark side.
Well,
You're not meant to use the Force to kill people unless it's out of self-defense. That wasn't self-defense. He just fucking choked him against the wall. I'm coming in, bitches.
There's no. I know, but yeah, there's no Jedi Order here to tell him what he can and can't do, as we found out in episode 1, 2, and 3. He can just grant himself the rank of Master.
No one's going to say no, he's the last Jedi, isn't he?
He can sit on whatever council he wants.
He is the council. I am the council.
Yeah, just to go back onto Force Ghost, right? Do you reckon, like, when he saw the Force Ghost of, like, Anakin, like, well, Darth Vader as Anakin, do you not think he just would have thought in his head, like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, because I mean, he only
You've never seen his face before? You know what I mean? He's smiling at the Force Ghost when he sees them all, like Ben Kenobi and Yoda, and then Anakin's just standing there and he's like, I've never fucking seen you before.
He's like, Ben, Yoda,
Dad? Some random dude waving.
Right, I'll ask you this question now while we're talking about it. We don't need to cover it at the end. I was like, what did you think of the CG inclusion of Hayden Christensen? Because it's meant to be, the Force Ghost is meant to be them at the prime of being a Jedi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. And he was a prime of being a Jedi, although it was questionably just before he became a Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was his Revenge of the Sith heir, wasn't it?
But you can't have Old Man Vader, because Old Man Vader was a Sith. So,
or was he?
Look, you say Anakin Skywalker, you think of Hayden Christensen, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't think of anybody else. Plus,
also,
yeah, it's fine.
So, that makes sense. Like, that was the one bit of CGI in this film that I liked. I was like, okay, put him in. Like, that makes sense. So the other thing that I noticed during this scene is, like, when the three of them pop up, like, Luke and Leia are hugging it out, like, looking at the Force Ghost. Is like, see, like, Leia's Force sensitive, like, we know everything. But then, like, they have, like, a lingering stare, and the faces are way too close, and it's like, did they shoot an ending where she wasn't his sister, and they just made out because they look like they're about to make out again? And at this point, they've both had the conversation where, you're my sister, and they still look like they're about to make out.
Yeah.
Stop making out, you brother!
My favourite thing is just Han's reaction to it. Honestly, it's just so perfect.
Wait, you two have been making out for 3 films.
I know, that's literally what he's thinking. And then he has that moment where he's like, oh, that means you're available.
Oh, you do like me. Okay. Yeah, we've missed out half a film to get to this point, guys. But
I need to say strong words about Boba Fett. This is just... It's terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's so unceremonial for him.
The first bits of action he gets his blaster cut off, he gets his jetpack set off when he doesn't mean to, he flies into the side of the barge, and then falls and gets eaten by a Sarlacc. That's it, he's gone.
But
that's it.
Expanded universe, does he escape or not?
Well, this was a question that I had for the end, but I'll ask it you now, Matty. Do you reckon Boba Fett will come back and he survived being ate by the Sarlacc pit, or do you think he's dead for good?
Well, obviously the only place he can come back is Mandalorian. Oh, another series, yeah, but if they brought him back,
it would make sense in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
There were a lot of rumours that he'd be back in the Mandalorian. He'd be like a bit like what Grief Karga, who is like his mentor character or whatever, would be a bit like what he is, but I'm assuming that
how would you survive that? How would you survive that death? Do you know what I mean? You're getting chewed up. It's not like Darth Maul when Darth Maul gets chopped in half and he comes back with his like spider legs. Like this guy's getting chewed the fuck up by this arsehole in the ground.
Yeah, but apparently it takes 1,000 years for them to digest you, so you need to think, like, as soon as you're in there, you're not dying straight away. You're getting a bit cut up by the teeth on the way down, but he's got Mandalorian armor, which is pretty much impenetrable by anything. It can reflect lightsabers.
So to put a bit of extended universe, drop a bit of extended universe knowledge on you, there is a story arc where somebody gets Boba Fett's armor from the Sarlacc pit, and then Boba Fett comes back to reclaim it, but it's not canon anymore. Yeah. So that was a story, but
what was that?
Because apparently there's like different chambers.
I can't tell you. There's a character's name, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't
I'll
a
find
comic
it
book.
for
I'm pretty
afterwards.
sure. I'm pretty sure it's a comic book.
Yeah, it's a comic series. Yeah.
Bloody hell! They bring everyone back if they can. If you don't see him die, like on
if
the
you
screen.
don't see him burn on a pyre, then or
even
evaporate.
Even getting him cut in half's not enough.
I know, that's what I mean. Like, what the fuck?
Well, that's the thing. If you die by a lightsaber, then like it's super hot, isn't it? It just cauterizes the wound as soon as it goes through. So
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
like it stops the bleeding.
Or unless your last name ends with Palpatine, in which case, literally, you can come back from anything.
Yeah, you just clone yourself.
Yeah, have backup clones ready to go.
Yeah, you just Darth Plagueis yourself into someone else.
After my Boba is literally useless, I've got Leia kills Jabba, and then I've just got the Emperor.
I've got after that, like he goes back to Dagobah, doesn't he? And we get the death of Yoda. But we have the whole conversation with him and Yoda where he's like, there is another. You've got a sister, and he instantly is just there like, oh, it's Leia. I sensed it in the Force. I was like,
yeah,
you didn't fucking sense it when you were fucking locking lips with her, were you? You had your fucking tonsils in each other's mouth. You didn't fucking sense jack shit, did you?
It was a different time.
It's not illegal on Tatooine to date your sister, apparently.
It's a shame they never trained Leia up.
Well, Luke does, doesn't he?
The bit you get in Rise of Skywalker where you see a little bit of that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd say. Yeah, it's pretty wicked.
There are also extended universe things where what if he took Leia with him and she trained with Yoda and he didn't die, and then the two of them go to fight Darth Vader and Palpatine. They've done that as well. So all these questions that you're asking, Matt, there's plenty of comic books out there, and I know you like comic books, so
I love comic books.
I think you need to do some searching.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You need to create an Amazon wish list. That's what you need to do. Comic
Mate,
series.
You should see how much comic books I've got in here, and like I've just got too many to read at the moment.
Anyway, we get to Endor.
You see the Emperor arrive, and it's the first time you see the Emperor as an actor in person on this. Well, yeah, but isn't it wicked how much of a comparison you make between not just the look but the voice between this Emperor and Ian McDiarmid's Emperor from episode 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
It's so good.
That was another bit of CGI replacement. They actually got Ian McDiarmid to do the Emperor for the hologram in episode 1.
Yeah,
instead of they had like a weird... The original Emperor in that scene was actually a woman with prosthetics on her face. In the original hologram, and she had like the weird like circular eye popping out type thing, didn't she? Almost looks a bit more like Snoke, doesn't it? Yeah. So they replaced that with Ian McDiarmid because he was that good at it that they were just able to seamlessly put him into the original trilogy, and a lot of people didn't notice because they forgot what the original Emperor looked like in episode 4.
It was almost like a little bit chilled out from Revenge of the Sith look, wasn't it? It was like I think that's like such a good consistent character. Like it's just so perfect. Just the way that evolves. Like that could be the same actor all the way through. All of the iterations of the Emperor.
Rewatching these after prequels as well, I kind of wish that we had a bit more. It's the same as with the sequels as well. We had a bit more Emperor instead of him just popping up in the third film, and we meant to like think that like this menacing guy's been behind it all. If like you sowed the seeds just a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, the other argument of that is that because you don't see him a lot, I suppose it's more interesting that you think like Vader's the big bad, and then you think Snoke's the big bad, and you think Count Dooku's the big bad. But although you watch that and think they are, that you're wrong pretty much the whole way through. It's this guy who keeps appearing every now and then. I think I always described him as like the puppet master pulling all the strings in between of all the bad guys that we get. So even though they're front and center and he is this guy that pops up all the time, that's the way it's meant to be, because you want to see it from the good guy's perspective, where they are the bad guys but they're just being manipulated and all part of the bigger plan.
I would kind of want him to see like him keeping Vader on a bit more of a leash, like you see a couple times, maybe just a little bit more of that, just so that like you kind of expected like this mega villain in the third one.
But you had Anakin on the leash in the prequels. Like the way he directs everything to make Anakin be more like hateful and like resentful and stuff, it's just crazy.
The only place I wish we saw more of him was The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. I think you either didn't have the Emperor at all, or you had him as the bad guy from 7, 8, and 9. You had him there manipulating everyone.
But
That's thoughts for the sequel trilogy.
At least maybe get some like drops, some hints further through the sequels. But we'll talk about that.
The Emperor's back.
Yeah, yeah. We find out the Emperor's back in Fortnite. Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys.
Right, here's a quick one. Right, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but like, what about the whole Emperor thing being trained by Darth Plagueis and all that sort of stuff? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm a massive fan of Knights of the Old Republic,
Yeah.
which is heavily based on Darth Revan and lots of Sith Lords. And there's a part in that game where you go to Korriban, where you go to Sith training, and there's tombs of ancient Sith Lords. I think the whole Sith Lord stuff that you get is wicked. So I think anything that builds that story arc more.
Yeah.
So you bring Darth Plagueis in, and this is this ancient Sith Lord that trained Sidious, and you know, he had all this knowledge and stuff. And I thought it was a real shame that we didn't have a Plagueis tie-in with Snoke, because I thought
that was going to happen.
Perfect.
That was all mine and Sam's theories.
Yeah, I thought that was going to
would've-
happen.
You know what? That would have been more perfect than the Emperor. That it could have been his master survived the story that you get in Revenge of the Sith, where he killed his master.
Yeah.
But he manipulated the whole thing. He survived that. That would have been so cool.
Well, they say
but
he was
yeah,
like the
more
most
Sith
powerful one.
Lords.
So if he was the most powerful, he could trick him into thinking he's dead.
Darth Plagueis learned eternal life, but one of the ways that it's depicted in the expanded universe is him basically imparting his soul onto the next host of him, essentially.
Right.
We were saying it's just like, if he put his soul into Palpatine, like, he didn't actually kill him, he transferred into him, type thing.
Right.
So he killed his former body and stuff like that, and he just keeps doing that down the line. So he's always Darth Plagueis, he's always the villain.
Which is questionably what he was trying to do in Rise of Skywalker at the end of that. So that's the story for then, I suppose.
We'll do an episode just about our Plagueis theories that never came true.
Yeah.
Before we go off Plagueis, something's just popped into my head. Right.
Go ahead.
Who do you think is Luke's dad through the midichlorians? So they said that Plagueis could make life through the midichlorians, right? Did he make Luke? Sorry, did he make Anakin, or did the Emperor make Anakin?
So we blown Matt Pearson's brain with this last week, so he didn't know this either. There is a comic panel where
It only happened last year.
where Palpatine is using the Force to put and use midichlorians to put a baby inside of Shmi Skywalker. So Palpatine.
Wait, there's a scene. There's a scene of this happening.
There is a comic book panel of this happening
In the Darth Vader comic book last year.
So
Shit.
yes, you're correct. It wasn't Plagueis, but Palpatine orchestrated everything from the Phantom Menace.
Man.
You could say he
Boom.
was the author of all his pain.
Shit, man.
Yep, there you go. So this is it. He had the power to create life. You learnt that
And
So-
take life.
and take it
And
Yeah.
transfer life, so... Well...
I wonder. I need to talk about it now before I forget about it. Palpatine says to Luke a few times, "Strike me down. Take your lightsaber. Strike me down."
He wanted a new host body.
I wonder if that's what he was trying to do, like what he was doing in the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
That's a good point, that.
Interesting.
When you think about it
Yeah.
that way. You imagine?
Then
That's another
then
what
Vader
if
doesn't
comic.
Realise. Yeah, it is. It is really, isn't it? Like, what if Vader died and Luke struck him down?
Well,
Yeah.
there is a version, again, in the comic books where the Emperor, in that moment, Vader dies and he makes a clone of Luke. I think he's got Luke's hand from Bespin.
Yeah.
And he makes a clone of Luke called Luke, with 2 U's, who's like a dark side new host body for Palps, essentially. Is Luke.
That's it.
So all these things, literally, that you keep suggesting, they've all been done in the comic books.
Help me.
Anything that can and will happen in the Star Wars original trilogy has happened in the
crazy.
comic book.
All that means is you can go and find it, Matty, and go and
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Mate, that's the thing though. When I was saying I've got too many comics, like Star Wars is a big thing to like jump into because there's so many spin-offs of comics. Do you know what I mean? Like you'd be collecting,
And a lot of
forever.
them aren't canon anymore. The 90s and early 2000s had so many because it kept jumping between publishers. It was at Marvel, it was at Dark Horse, it was at IDW,
Yeah.
it was fucking everywhere.
There's nothing to keep it consistent.
No, the two best ones you can get is the Vader one from 2017 and the Darth Maul Sons of Dathomir one. They're the two best ones you can get now.
I got that Sam for Christmas.
You did, mate. They're the best
good.
two recommendations you can have.
Yeah,
Star
I'm
Wars
going to give those
comic
ones a go. I'll start off with those.
Can we finally get to Endor, guys? Anything else before we get to Endor? We get a cool speeder fight.
Yeah,
speeder chase. Fine. Sam, take us away. Take us away with the speeders.
There's some forgivable green screen in this.
Yeah. Do you know what? For the time, like, this looks pretty damn good. Like, it gives you the proper effect of speed, doesn't it?
Ewoks are a thing.
Ewoks. Yeah, I love Ewoks.
They worship C-3PO like a god.
Yeah, they do.
And he enjoys it. I wonder why he didn't stay there. He had it pretty cushy on Endor, didn't he?
It's not in his programming to falsify being a god.
Didn't stop him, though.
No, it didn't stop him for those 5 minutes, because everyone was like, just fucking go along with it, or we're getting burnt and eaten alive here. Also, it's explained in Expanded Universe that, yes, the Ewoks did eat all the dead bodies of the stormtroopers.
Man.
That's what they lived on for several months after the Battle of Endor.
Would have been a big clean-up, that, Jesus.
I'm pretty sure that is canon still.
Oh dear. Have you played Star Wars Battlefront 2, Matty?
I've got both Battlefront 1 and 2, but I didn't play much into number 2. Like,
you should play the campaign of number 2, because that ties in right up until the Death Star blows up with Imperials on Endor. So it's pretty wicked.
The newer game was brilliant, though. I love the new game.
Fallen Order.
The storyline in that is, oh man.
Yeah, Fallen Order.
I haven't finished it yet. No spoilers.
It's a wicked game.
Mind, we won't
That's
talk
for
about
a different podcast. That's for Get Real Gaming at some point.
Oh, there's a hint.
There's a teaser of something that me and Sam are thinking about. Anyway, so we also get the conversation between Luke and Leia after this, where, like we said, he tells her that the brother and sister, and she's like, yeah, I always knew. It's like, she's clearly sensitive with the Force, so why was everybody so pissy in The Last Jedi when she starts using the Force? That's my question. And why are people all of a sudden dead pissy? Just because we didn't see it, we get told. We get told verbally, she's Force sensitive. Get fucking used to it.
I think it's just because of the Mary Poppins aspect of how she used it in The Last Jedi, to be fair.
Yeah. I didn't expect that, me. I was like, oh man, Leia's gone, and then next minute...
I thought,
like,
I agree.
Whoa.
I thought that was it. I thought, that's it. You know what, that's fine. Oh no, she's still alive. Here she comes.
No, we got Luke die instead. Who saw that one coming?
Yeah, it's true.
We actually see personal growth from Han. Like, in that moment where she finds out and she's like, I just need a minute alone, and then he starts kicking off thinking that she's shagging her brother again. Because he doesn't know the brother and sister yet. He's just there like, oh, but you can tell that bitch, can you? Well, fuck you! And then like he starts kicking off, and then you actually see some personal growth, and he realises that he can't treat people like that anymore. If he's going to be with Leia, he needs to mature as a person, and he apologises. And this is why Han Solo is a good character, because he actually has a character arc. He goes from the guy that shoots first to the guy that apologises for doing shit wrong.
The one thing I thought was really weird was just before. It's the weirdest way of Luke trying to say to Leia that the brother and sister. It's like...
My sister has it. Intense stare till she figures it out.
It's in my family too.
My father has it, which is Darth Vader. You know that. I told you last time. I have it. Yes, you know I've got it. My sister has it. Stares into her soul.
And then they knew it. They knew it all along. They had a feeling.
Luke just gets it from the creepy smiles that his dad gave to his mum.
That's where he gets it from.
Yeah,
Jesus.
The weird stares at women.
That's one thing. I know it's the prequels, but fucking hell, Anakin Skywalker is so cheesy in their movies.
Oh, he's so cringy.
Cheesy and creepy.
Yeah.
So, right, let's finish up Return of the Jedi, because I know we've got Endor now, we've got the final bit, we've got the throne room fight, and then we're pretty much home stretching then. So let's wrap this up.
So they take out the shield generator, we get the cool battle with the Ewoks doing the shit with all the homemade contraptions. Looks cool. You get the I love you reversal from Leia to Han instead. Like, that's such a cool callback, and then she blasts him. Also, she got shot, and like her shoulder was actually on fire for a minute there. And then she's just fine. She just shrugs it off after that. And then, you get the throne room fight. How cool is that throne room fight? Like, there's not much action happens in it. Like, it's not much of a fight, but again, it's the emotional beats between it, and you see the conflict within Darth Vader, which gets me to my question that I wanted to ask you guys. Who was the chosen one all along? Was it Luke? Was it Vader? What do you guys think? I think it's still Darth Vader, because he's the one that brings balance to the Force. I think maybe
because he kills the Emperor,
because they say the translation might be wrong when the prophecy might be wrong for the chosen one. I reckon it's the chosen bloodline, because then we also see that, again, Kylo Ren helps bring balance to the Force in the sequels as well.
Right, I think you've got a good point though when you're saying Darth Vader, because like you see towards the end of episode 3 where Yoda obviously looks like he's given up, and I think he like kind of knows that this has to happen in order for the balance to be like brought by Darth Vader himself. That's why he just buggers off. He's like, right, we can't do anything else now. There's no point me and you, Obi-Wan, chasing after him. Let's just leave it at that. This has to be for a bit, and then it'll come back and the balance will be brought further in the future.
Doctor Strange, he's seen all possible eventualities, and he knows this is the one timeline. He knows that Tony has to die, but
that's
in the end,
the
balance
Jedi
will
way.
be restored.
That's the Jedi way. That's how they say in the prequels as well. They're like when Obi-Wan's talking to Anakin, saying like, yes, like if she does die, that's like the way. Is it Anakin or Yoda? I mean, Obi-Wan or Yoda that's talking to him about that. But they're basically saying like,
it's Yoda.
Yeah, they're like, if she does die, that's just the way of the Force. This is the way things happen. Like, just accept it.
Yeah, because she gave up the will to live, so it's just what the living Force has chosen to do. What do you think, Sam?
I'd say that Luke, in terms of things that he does, he isn't leading any decisions. He's actually just following what's happening and what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, it's Vader that makes those choices. It's Anakin that makes those big choices. So, you know, I'd say that Luke definitely doesn't make any big decisions. I'd say he doesn't really make any big decisions in The Last Jedi, apart from distracting Kylo Ren to let him get away.
Yeah.
It's like Luke just finds out that his father is Vader, but at the end, he just goes, you know, he is led into every single trap that he gets put into. Yeah. So I agree, I'd say it's Vader, because he makes the big choices.
Yeah, I think the big decision that Luke makes in that moment is to not give in to the anger and the hatred and stuff like that, whereas his father had failed at that in the beginning.
Although he does, because Vader has to stop him from killing him, because he has to put his lightsaber in front of the Emperor.
Yeah.
Luke goes to strike and kill the Emperor.
He does go to strike him down, but...
So it's... Yeah, it is.
So it's Vader all the way, but I feel like if Luke wasn't there in that moment, then Vader wouldn't have turned good again. He wouldn't have brought balance to the Force. He would have stayed by the Emperor's side.
It's an interesting way of looking at it.
So we all agree on Darth Vader?
I agree on Darth Vader, yeah.
Do we think if Luke hadn't have grabbed the lightsaber that Vader would have maybe struck down the Emperor in that moment once the rebels were defeated? Because he says in Empire, we can rule the galaxy as father and son. If the Emperor's grand plan had been executed and the rebels were destroyed at the Battle of Endor, do you think maybe Vader might have been like, time for me to be the fucking Emperor, bitch? And then Luke's just there.
And what do you think, Matty? What do you think?
I don't know, that's a bit far stretch, that.
That's a little bit too off the rails.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's tough because I think Vader is very, very loyal to the Emperor. I think he's extremely loyal.
Well, he says in Empire Strikes Back, he's like, fuck the Emperor, we can do it, the two of us.
But it's like, that's like Dooku and Sidious. It's Sith mind tricking, you know what I mean? I think that's what it is. I think that Vader he wouldn't fight his son and chop his son's hands off if he didn't have the intent of, if he doesn't join me, I'll kill him.
Do you not think maybe he's trying to push him to the brink, like he was pushed to the brink?
Yeah.
No, he says that if Luke doesn't turn, he'll kill him and he'll turn his sister instead. He says that to the Emperor. So I'd say no, you know. I think that Luke doesn't kill him, and I think it's watching Luke suffer by the Emperor, I think, that turns him. And I think it's because Luke has the whole thing of trying to turn him. and says the whole "there's good in you" and stuff. I think that's what does it. I think if that didn't happen and Luke just gets killed off, I don't think Vader would turn. No.
So, but we're still saying that Vader's the chosen one, but then we're saying that he needs Luke as well. So that's why I'm thinking that the chosen one is the chosen one bloodline.
I don't think Darth Vader. You see, especially when he's Anakin, he loves his family though. He loves Padme at the time. So you know what I mean? There's no way if he could have Padme back, I think he'd probably change his mind about being so evil. Obviously, I know he slaughtered all those people at the Jedi Temple, but. You know what I mean? Apart from that,
the younglings.
Do you know what I mean? So, when he comes to the point of him killing Luke, why would he kill Luke when he was so upset about hearing what happened to Padme, what he did to Padme?
I don't know. I think Padme's different. I think there's a lot of in the Vader Immortal games and stuff. He finds a way of trying to bring her back, and doesn't manage to do it. And I think. Really, that's all he cares about. You see it throughout the 3 episodes how much he doesn't really care. He does, but he sees it as an opportunity to turn his son turn his son to him. Yeah, and he does that with the Emperor. They see it as the 3 of them, and he doesn't say we're going to strike the Emperor down when he gets to join him. He says we can rule it as father and son underneath the Emperor. That's the way I read that. Right. I know we have the rule of 2 and stuff and all that business, but I think when he says that, he doesn't mean to bring the Emperor down. He means as underneath the Empire as it is.
The script says, Luke, you can destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen it is your destiny. Join me and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son. So I take that as he wants him to kill the Emperor because they all know he's capable of it, and then they're going to rule it, just the 2 of them.
All right. Okay.
You had to fact check. I had to fact check.
Well,
anyway,
we'll chat about this more after.
Oh, I just wanted to talk about Vader's death after that. Then.
Yeah. The theme in this bit where they have the moment where he takes the helmet off is one of the best Star Wars musical bits.
This hits differently every time I see it, and when I watched it today, it was a lot more emotional than I remember it being. The fact that he's no, let me see you with my own eyes this one time.
Yeah.
So good. And he's basically saying it's just there, it's okay if I die now that, I've been able to see you. You've brought the good back in me. You've saved me. Now you and your sister need to, go on and do this.
What if they would have put Hayden Christensen's CGI'd face over that end scene?
No.
Imagine if they did a release with that though. The next Star Wars remaster, Hayden Christensen's face over Darth Vader.
I'm not gonna lie, people have become a lot more forgiving of Hayden Christensen. I would have to see how it looks.
First. I would say, I quite like Hayden Christensen, but I would never have that digitally replaced because you also need to think this is what. 20 odd years later, so he's aged, he's burnt to a fucking crisp. It wouldn't make sense.
I know it wouldn't because the way you see Darth Vader at the end of this one, he's still got obviously big patches of normal skin, whereas when you see Hayden's character, he just get his head burnt to a crisp. So
then he's getting skin grafts and stuff, isn't he?
Yeah.
The white skin is not normal skin, it's dead skin essentially.
Yeah.
He's still fucked up.
Nah.
He's got that massive gash down the back of his head as well. Anyway, Star Wars or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Star Wars. It's still a Star Wars. All 3 of these films are Star Wars. And we've already given our definitive rankings. Me and Sam are putting it lower than top place, which Matty is putting it.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions that we round off with, Matty. So now it's your time to shine.
So Sam's picked these questions this time because I've asked all my questions.
I'm nervous. I hope I know.
The first thing that we get you to do is, out of all the trilogies, out of all the spin-off films, so this includes all 3 trilogies, and it'll also include Solo and Rogue One.
Right.
Rank your top 3 Star Wars films.
What's your perfect trilogy?
Out of all 3 trilogies, then, including
out of all 3 trilogies, so episode 1 to 9, including Rogue One and Solo, just pick your top 3. If you had to be stranded on a desert island with 3 Star Wars films, what would they be?
Oh man,
You don't have to rank them in order if you don't want to, if that's too difficult.
Episode 3 will always be with me because it's one of those I grew up with. Well, same with Phantom Menace, but obviously episode 3 was a lot better than Phantom Menace. Like I said, from the prequel, episode 3's on there because I grew up with it, and that was my favourite out of the prequel trilogies, right? The next one after that would have to be A New Hope, obviously, because, as we say, it's the New Hope as well. Maybe Last Jedi after that.
Oh, I like it. I rank the Last Jedi quite highly. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say like Rogue One in there somewhere because you've been talking about it so much, but that might just be because it's fresh in your memory.
Yeah, it's freshly in my memory, but yeah. No, it is such a good little setup though, isn't it? Like, they've done it perfectly. Like, some spin-offs just like go on and it's just pretty crap. But these ones, they've thought so much into it and gone into all these little details to connect it all together. It's cool. I love it.
Awesome. My next question is, apart from the spin-offs that we've already had, what spin-offs would you like to see?
Definitely more Mandalorian stuff. Obviously, I know it's been done, but I'd love to see a lot more of that. So, has the Series 2 been confirmed yet?
Series 3's been confirmed.
Holy shit. Right?
Yeah.
Well, there you
Season
go.
2's like wrapped filming.
Fuck. Well, yeah, Boba Fett's definitely making a comeback then. It's just going to happen.
Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, that's what he wants.
Alright, do you know what the other two are? I want to see the horror movies. I want to see the horror versions of Star Wars. You're going into my game then. Bring some horror in there, man.
Yeah, so you want the C-3PO and the Wampa horror films.
Yeah, C-3PO horror film, man. Definitely. Even the Ewoks. Imagine seeing those fuckers eating people.
Yeah, it's I'm thinking it's like Gremlins, but with more cannibalism.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
yeah.
it's not cannibalism because they're not the same race as you, but yeah, more stormtroopers. Okay, stormtroopers get deserted on Endor when they're setting up the shield generators, and the Ewoks are hunting them down and eating them.
Yeah,
sound.
That's
I'm gonna
good.
make
Cool.
that. I'm gonna make that.
There you go.
Film.
Picture. It could already be a comic.
Probably.
Right, have you got any questions, Chris?
No, I covered mine in the episode.
All right, so to wrap up, Matty, do you want to tell us a little bit where people can find your podcast?
So you can find our podcast, An Earful Podcast, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter under An Earful Podcast, and we're on Spotify, Acast, and all that for your actual podcast in itself. And we're now doing a bit more YouTube content as well, so check us out on YouTube. We've got a few of the interviews up there at the moment.
Perfect, cool. And where can people find you if they wanted to follow you on Twitter or Instagram and stuff like that?
Well, I don't use Twitter much, so I'm more Instagram active, but that's under Matty_Ashton on Instagram.
Perfect, cool. And if you want to check us out, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can check out Get Real at Get Real Pod across all those places, as well as emailing us at getrealpoduk@gmail.com. Chris, where can people check out the podcast?
You can check out the podcast anywhere you get your podcast from. Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave us a review and 5 stars. Follow us on Spotify and literally everywhere you want to get your podcast from. We are also available on YouTube. We are Get Real Podcast on YouTube. So follow us on there for YouTube content. Hopefully some videos up on there soon, like the Earful guys. So thank you very much for joining us, Matt. It's been a pleasure having you on. And we'll get back to you guys with the definitive ranking once we've had our third Matt Lunn on. The third and final Matt. Matty and Matt.
Mate, it's brilliant when we go to do interviews.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Like, I'm Matt. Oh, that's easy enough. They don't have to remember any names. Yeah. But yeah, it's been good, guys.
So thanks again for being on the episode, Matt, and check us out next time where we cover the sequel trilogy with Matt Lunn from An Earful Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
See ya.
See you later.